Right, you are live.
All right, and here we go. Welcome to the 71st episode of You Had Me at Halo, where we discuss everything to do with one of gaming's most storied franchises. Team, it's now 71 episodes and a few years taking this Halo journey with all of you. We rode this roller coaster together with probably more turbulence than anybody expected when we got on the ride. but through it all, this journey has been worth it. And the reason is because of this community and my fellow Spartans who joined me on this journey and provided therapy to me as I've ranted about desync, master cheeks, and a plethora of other nonsense. So today's 71st episode will mark my last as host of the show. But I do want to emphasize this isn't the end. This is just a transition and handoff. Today's Halo topics, they're going to be whatever the hell we want. because as the last show, I no longer have to worry about spacing out topics to fill in the gaps. And I can ruin the roadmap tonight. So going forward, Soul will basically be handed over to the 2022 of Halo's live service, basically.
And we'll see. There's a lot of questions right now with the show because it's not just Abe leaving. There's some changes were happening in the team. We'll see how the show goes. It might be more Forge focused, might be more PV like esports focused. Who the heck knows? We'll see.
Yeah, there's going to be things, and we'll kind of touch on some stuff because Xbox Era is going to spend this year, talking to John. He's got some big plans. Wants to like evolve, and I think there's a lot of exciting things that are coming up this year with Xbox Era and with really everything that's connected to it. So I'm excited about all that. Looking forward to see what you guys are going to do with all that stuff. But before we get going, let's just go ahead and introduce my Spartan co-op partner for today.
This is Halo CE, man. It's only two of us co-op.
Yeah, well, you know what? And Halo C is the best Halo, so hey, it's fitting. So
you know what, Abe, I'm not gonna fight you on that this time. You know what? I'll let you have it.
My favorite game of all time, Halo CE. But yeah, my good friend Spartan Aarsal, aka Mr. SoulBlazerz. How you doing? So
doing pretty good. We had to if anyone paying attention, the title and the podcast and the thumbnail were different about 30 minutes ago. So I can let you know how fresh a lot of this is.
Yeah. So yeah, I dropped the bomb on Soul here.
No worries. I mean, it is what it is, right? In fact, I'm just happy we were able to get this final episode, because I feel like if we went last week, it wouldn't have been this at all. And it's nice to have that because you guys watching through thick and thin, you know what I mean? Like, this is a community and we love you guys. Later on, I'm gonna post a clip of episode 1 to show what we
No, I'm gonna. You're canceled then if you did. We're gonna have to talk about that a little bit. So for anybody that doesn't remember, piloting this ship for the last time is me, Spartan Abe, aka OneBadMotha, and we're gonna have a lot of stuff to cover today. I think it's gonna be it's really gonna be just a fun, retrospective. Also, kind of just looking at the state of Halo. I think Halo is more relevant, really, in the news than it's more relevant to the news than people are thinking. And we're going to talk a little bit about that and get into a lot of different things. But Soul Man, I guess before we kind of get into our topics today, I mean, you and me were the OGs, right? We were here at the beginning. And I've missed, I think, one episode. Was it one or two?
I've missed more than one episode. Yeah, I think you've only missed maybe one. I'm trying to think. Were you ever not on an episode?
You and Austin carried an episode.
Yes. There was one episode. It was me and Austin. Yeah.
So yeah, it's been we've been the OGs. We've been here since the beginning. It's interesting to see how far we've come. From like, did we even have we didn't have a splash screen. We didn't have anything, man.
Let me see. We did have the intro. The intro we've kept the same intro from the beginning. Here, let me play a little bit of what it looked like. This is episode 1. We were using Discord, and I do the little Discord widget. It was audio only, obviously. And I see Mike in the chat. Hey, Mike, it really sucks, man, that you couldn't join us for this episode.
So, yeah. Oh, good Lord. Yeah, now you're bringing back some memories here. And back then, we basically were talking through, I think it sounded like one person was talking through a tin can. It sounded like another person was talking locked in the trunk of a car. It's like, it was some pretty low production value.
Dude, do you see the black box? That's because I realized this recording we were all in the Xbox party chat, and we didn't want to confuse the viewers by having our names show up in the top left there and right next to it on the left.
Oh my goodness. But man, it was interesting because when we started the show, I remember we got on a call one day and we were just like, all right, guys, this is going to be it. They're like, Halo is going to be, it is going to just take over this generation. It's going free to play.
God.
Microsoft's
What's the date of the first episode? It's
oh my goodness! Yeah, it was before Rusting Brute Face, wasn't it? It was.
It definitely was. I think it was after the first reveal.
Okay. Yep.
I can double check in a second. For some reason, the stupid acronym doesn't work too hot. Okay, it was. That didn't work. It was, and we didn't have like individual thumbnails for episodes at the time. It was exactly September 13th, 2020. So no, it was actually after. That's after, right? Because they had the 2020 demo where they showed Craig.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was after. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, so we all got in a call, and I was the one. I was like, I'm probably the one as bullish as anybody on Halo. I'm a Halo fanboy, so it is what it is. But I'm like, guys, like this is the place to be. We're going to be here early. Like a lot of the content creators stopped making stuff. This is like, still they weren't all back yet, right? Like a lot of them were still in cryo sleep or whatever. And we were like, we're going to get in there when nobody else is, and and to be fair, like we started to see like the audience really build up towards at certain points, right, towards the release, and you could feel that energy building, and but at the end of the day, things didn't always go the way we thought. We'll talk about it in a little bit. I do think there's still a lot of potential with the game and this franchise going forward. I think it's in a little bit of a hibernation again, but publicly to the mainstream, but it's definitely I think it has an opportunity to do a lot of the things that we thought they were going to do out the gate, but yeah, it's definitely it was always it was tough for a little while because I felt like every show we were coming on here, it was like negative news for a little while,
or like everything had some kind of caveat, you know what I mean?
Yeah, there's always like, but.
Okay, all that being said, Halo Infinite is the most Halo I've ever played online, period. Partially that is because I didn't have Xbox Live in the Halo 1, 2, and 3 days. And also in Halo 3 days, I had it for like a week and I got destroyed so badly that I'm like, nope, not convincing my dad to pay for this. I'm going to play RuneScape. I'm going to convince him to buy me membership for that. And Halo 5, for whatever reason, I just didn't get into the multiplayer that much. So it's not like it was all bad. In fact, I've really enjoyed Halo Infinite over the years, and I'm definitely gonna be playing it more. I'm sure you are too, right? I mean, it's Halo. Nothing plays like Halo.
Well, and just in case anybody brought their bingo cards today, as I've said before, even before we ever did a podcast, I put 2,000 hours into Halo 5.
Yep.
So they've all stood out to me. Oh, well, except for 4. 4 is probably the only one that I've never.
4, the launch was, God, you know what? People, I saw a discussion recently where someone's like, they gotta lower the TTK, they gotta add ADS, and I'm like, dude, they did that. They did that back in 2013. It didn't work, or 2012, whenever the heck 4 released.
Now, by the way, we got cats on camera for bingo card.
Mine too. It's like I can't turn too much.
You had me at Halo bingo card, like the things that come every single time. Should we promise it's going to be a short episode? So, Oh my goodness. But yeah, so let's talk about some of the other things.
Okay.
So I do think Halo ties into the current news, but probably not in the way that I haven't really heard of all the podcasts we've heard, Xbox podcasts the last few weeks.
Halo's been absent, right? No one's really been talking about it, and that is in itself worth talking about.
Well, here's the thing. Well, here's my opinion. I'll let you go first, and then I'll come back on it. But something to kind of think about. So obviously there's been a lot of negative news the last couple of weeks have been a tough role for anybody who's been doing Xbox content creation, especially if you try if you prefer talking more positively. Redfall came out a couple weeks ago to
awful reviews.
Yeah, awful.
I mean, there's no other way to say it. Its Metacritic is crazy low. Awful what's it called when the reviews are put together? To that, let's say
the aggregate. Yeah,
aggregate. There we go.
The aggregate. Yeah. So like that's been you felt a lot of, and it really just hasn't been Redfall. It has been just a lot of negative energy.
I mean, the week before Redfall dropped, we got CMA blocking the Activision Blizzard, right? Which was, I mean, I know it's not Halo, but that is very much on topic for the kind of feeling around Xbox today. And it didn't help that everyone thought it was going to go through.
No, it didn't. The expectations haven't been met. So, but yeah, man. So like, the last few weeks have been obviously on the downside of the roller coaster again. And, the thing, so I was actually in the process of writing an article, and so you've seen it previously. Yeah. It didn't get it finished in time to get it shipped out, but one of the things I was writing, and this was back when the studio changed, we learned about the campaign being canceled, right? And you remember everything I'm talking about, right? The campaign was canceled. The studio cut 100 jobs or more, and basically restructured. And at that time, I was actually putting together a piece that was talking about, Microsoft and Halo, and this assumption in the community that hey, they're going to get Call of Duty, or they got all these studios now, so it's not as big a deal, right? Like there's some of that sentiment, and I was really hitting back really, really hard on that. But before I get into all my takes on it, I want to let you talk a little bit. So kind of like, what's been your thought about the status of Halo? Where do you see it kind of ranking in terms of its importance right now with Microsoft, and its impact really kind of on the state of where people are?
I remember when the day they announced the Bethesda acquisition, right?
Yeah.
We got on that week, and we had a pretty long podcast about talking about how this is great for Halo, puts less stress on 343 and this and that. And looking back on it, looking at other things since, maybe things will change when Starfield releases and the Elder Scrolls releases, blah, blah, blah. But as it is now, I think we were wrong. I think Halo is Halo, and it is synonymous with Xbox. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I know people will say like, oh, who's Master Chief? He's no one. No. People still know the image of Master Chief, that Spartan. They know, and they immediately equate that to Xbox.
Yep.
Like,
he's the face of the brand, even if he's not the most played game. I mean, we know Forza Horizon is played by more people.
It is, though. Technically, I mean, Infinite, even as low as it's gone player wise, it is still their third most played first party game. Right? It goes Minecraft, Forza, Halo. So it's not like it's like not played on the box, right? It clearly is, but obviously it doesn't have the brand power it had in the 10s and the early 20. Actually, that's a good discussion. Did any of 343's Halos, or basically Halo in the last decade, the 2010s decade, did it ever hit that zeitgeist that it had in the previous decade?
No, I really think none of 343's Halos sustain the base, sustain the mind share, and obviously, we talked in previous episodes. There's a lot more competition.
I feel like you could throw Reach a little bit into there too. In the sense where like it wasn't that zeitgeist that 1, 2, and 3 were, that original trilogy, and there obviously tons of reasons, various factors, blah blah blah. But it's not new to Halo, I guess. That's what I should say.
No, and I think, like when you think about it, yeah, starting with Halo 4, because the base fell off pretty quick there, right? Like I think the initial pop of Halo 4 was all right.
It sold so well. People praised the campaign, blah blah blah. Actually, every Halo game has, other than 5's, had the campaign praised, so that's not new to you know what I mean.
Yeah. But after that, it fell off. Halo 5, I think I will contend forever that Halo 5 will probably go down as one of the most underrated multiplayer games on consoles, because it just came out at the wrong time. There was so much wrong with the campaign. It kind of went down with the energy, right? I feel like all the other pieces
100%.
took that multiplayer down. And, and people didn't like the wreck stuff, and I get that. But in terms of like the moment-to-moment gameplay, when you got over... When people got over, well, when the old school content creators got over the fact that there's still sprint and there's like extra moves and things like that.
And that it's very much them wanting to make their game, right?
Yeah.
Make their stamp on this multiplayer, and they did it. They made one of possibly arguably the best multiplayer shooter ever, Obviously, arguably, because I'm sure many people would fight that.
Even a lot of Halo fans will fight that, I know.
Oh, yeah, of course. But still.
But even if you don't want to say it's best ever, it was a solid multiplayer game. Like in terms of again, we talk about there's not a lot that stacks up to classic Halo. There's not really a replacement. There really wasn't a replacement for Halo 5 either. Like if you took that out of there, it wasn't, people could look and say, well, Titanfall, you could run out, you got the jetpacks, but it didn't feel the same.
It's not the same thing.
No, it wasn't the balancing, the from a competitive standpoint, it was pretty awesome. And then you move over to Halo Infinite, and again, I think we talked about this before. They nailed a lot of things, but unfortunately, like being fun, getting a lot of things right, just never was going to be good enough for Halo.
Yeah, especially these days, right? It's not enough.
And I think what we've seen, like recently, you kind of see a lot of the doom and gloom, which. Well, that's a different podcast, but I will still say the future has got so much potential, even the near future. But, looking at it, though, you kind of look at where Halo was the last year, right? It was almost like it would almost be like watching a season of LeBron James, but watching him deteriorate month over month. And to the point you got to the playoffs and he just couldn't do anything, right? It was like people were looking at the GOAT of Xbox, the face of Xbox. Basically, even if it didn't rank up there in the sales or the engagement, it still was always going to be thought of as like the LeBron James of Xbox, And I think seeing the fact that, last year you saw the delays, and it pushed the deterioration of Halo's live service, and, push it further into the mainstream with nothing to break up that conversation. So it's like every 2 weeks, we're kind of like another conversation around, the issues with 343, the issues with Halo. And, and so where I kind of push back at people that say, or even if Microsoft was looking at it, like, hey, if we get ABK, it's no longer going to be that critical. I think for as long as long as you have that core audience, the core Xbox audience, as long as you think they're important, I think Halo will always be important because it represents the quality. The quality of it represents the brand. And you heard, I mean, I was listening to podcasts after podcasts for moderate, a lot of moderate takes, like even somebody like Jeff Grubb saying, well, if it's happening with Halo, then what should we expect with everything else, right? And even if that isn't true, that's what the
perception, right? And these past couple of years, on maybe even more to be honest, have shown me that when it comes to us, when it comes to those of us who are really engaged in the online crowd and everything, blah blah blah, these narratives mean a lot. You know what I mean? They will legitimately change people's opinions on things. They will prevent people from trying things out. They'll have people jump into internet arguments or dogpile. It's more important than I thought it would be, and that's it's kind of frustrating, but it also is what it is, right? So you're right. Halo is intrinsically there it is, tied to the brand, and unless they put the series on ice and they don't release a Halo game for 15 years, I don't see that changing ever.
Right. No, at least not with the core base, right? At least not with us.
Yeah.
Maybe my son, right? Like my son plays Minecraft to death. Maybe someday he'll play something else besides Minecraft, but and Roblox and all that stuff. But maybe to the next generations, it won't really matter. But I think as long as you start looking at that core base that stuck with them, after the 360, what did they have? 80, 90 million sales. And, we don't know exactly what the numbers are, but let's just, for sake of argument, say it is that 50 million. That 50 million people still probably associated the quality of Halo with Xbox and with the quality of their first party, even if we moving forward, that's not going to always be true. It will feel true. And I think from a marketing standpoint, the key is moving forward, and maybe this is where we should take it to the next subject. Talk about the future of Halo. So I'm going to stop talking because I will ramble on forever. So where do you kind of see Halo going? What are you hoping to see? When I say that, are you hoping that it really tries to still fit in with what the old heads, what they want, right? The people that want to play Halo 3 forever. Do you kind of see it staying kind of at this compromise where it's at today, or would you like to see the franchise move in a completely different direction?
I want
altogether?
343 and current leadership to do whatever the hell they want to do. You know what I mean? Enough pleasing the fans or going back. I mean, I love Infinite. The multiplayer fits so well with me, right? So I don't want that to go or whatnot, blah, blah, blah. But at the same time, do what you want to do with the franchise. Move it forward, evolve it, or fine-tune it. You know what I mean? It's okay. Just stop having that tug of war. It's like, fans want this, we want this. Fans expect this, we expect this. Completely honest, I don't want the next Halo campaign to have a multiplayer. Even if it comes out in 3-4 years, I don't want that. Keep supporting Halo Infinite. Add more updates. Add big updates like Firefight that'll bring people back again for a while, right? Make it basically your 76, your ESO, your I know there's another one that I'm missing. Your Sea of Thieves. These games get consistent updates. People keep coming back. Blah blah blah. Because I don't think Halo at its core, unless it really changes what it is, meaning lower time to kill, maybe a more grounded feeling to it. Maybe it's got to go full on PvE Destiny. I don't think it's gonna get up there with the top 5, top 6 games on most played, or possibly even top 10, because that's just not the current popular thing. You know what I mean? It's kind of hard to describe.
Right.
Also, we got to keep in mind that there are more people playing today than there were in the past, right? So not being top 10 isn't necessarily the death sentence.
Right. It's not the failure just because you're not top 10. You can still make money, right? But a lot of it is relative to the investment and everything
of course,
they put into it. But
I just want them to do what they want to do, basically. And continue the goddamn story. That's the one request, all right? That they can do whatever the hell they want to do otherwise. Do not reboot it. I saw a tweet today, or yesterday, I think by Jez, where he's like, maybe Halo should get that reboot tweet. And no, you got your reboot. It was Halo Infinite. There's your reboot. Right? Play the game. It plays different. The story got refreshed. You got new cast of characters. Here you go. Oh, God.
Well, I think you bring up some good points, actually. And you talk about them doing whatever they want. Because, let's think back to the original trilogy, right? Because I was there. I mean, it was actually interesting. I was walking through this mall I haven't been through for a few years, just a couple weeks ago, and I walked by this area, and all of a sudden I had a little bit of nostalgia hit me, because it used to be where an EB Games was, and that was the EB Games where I saw Halo running on a kiosk for the first time ever. The thing that made me go ahead and delay me saving up for the ring for my fiance at the time, which I got in trouble for later, by the way, when she found out. I were past the statute of limitations on that, but you kind of look back at that, and you look at what Halo was, and how when Halo CE came out, it really set the bar in so many different ways. When I played that, and I came from PC, mind you, I wasn't even somebody that was coming over from just console or N64 or even PS2. I was making a jump for the PC where I got to play.
So what were you playing on PC at the time?
Like Half-Life, man. Half-Life.
Okay. All right.
And System Shock 2. And so played some really good first-person shooters. And even as somebody that played on PC, played on a gaming PC, where there was a big, for everybody who's PC Master Race today, you guys don't know what PC Master Race is unless you were in that era, because the games we were playing back then were like 2 generations ahead of the console. They're playing. Nick was sitting there playing GoldenEye, and I was playing Half-Life. What a scrub. But anyway, but
he's still playing GoldenEye. All right, that's all you gotta know.
He's front. I think Rand called him out. I still don't think he's got it far.
We might get Mike on. He's saying he might be able to. The cameras are gonna get all weird for a moment because I didn't resize everything for the.
Okay.
Because I'm not sure if you noticed, but I was supposed to be 1440p for this stream, and I ran into the same issue Jesse did when he switched to 1440, which is you got to make a change off ultra low latency. God dang it! But it's cool. It's cool. But just keep in mind the camera might get.
We'll make it. We're gonna just kind of fly the ship shake. If it gets shaky, if things production values go south, that is just our brand anyway. So.
It's big, yeah, straight up.
When have we had 73? Gosh, now I even forgot. 71 episodes, and I don't think we've had a smooth opening to closing episode yet. So
listen, it is what it is. If it would be smooth, then that's not you had me at Halo. You know what I mean? And that's one tradition I will most likely keep going no matter what happens with the show onwards.
Yeah, hopefully we get Mike in here because I definitely want to get Mike.
So Mike is behind scenes. I'm gonna let's see if this works. Okay, it's gonna go wonky for a bit. You keep talking because audio will go fine.
Okay, I am talking. Uh-oh, here comes Mike.
Oh no, it didn't work. Ouch. Okay, all right, give me a sec. Oh my god. Oh.
Mike, I knew you wouldn't be able to resist jumping in on this.
Hello.
So it's fine. Yeah, we can see everyone and we can hear everyone. It's just we're sized a little off. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. I didn't know if I'd get done with work early, and I didn't know.
No problem, man. It's
with this being my last show too. I didn't know if it was right for me to be here. I just didn't. I don't know. I felt weird about it, even though I love the community. Hi, everyone.
But yeah, so we're talking about the future of Halo, and and basically kind of like where the direction should go, and and kind of going back and telling the story because I started chasing squirrels there. I think back to Halo CE, and like I was saying, going from Master Race PC to Halo on a console. For me as a PC gamer, I was freaking blown away. Like the first time I saw that Halo running on a kiosk, in that mall, while I was looking for my ex-wife's ring, the thing that delayed that whole thing to begin with was the fact that I saw that damn demo, and I was just I laid down late at night and I thought about it and I couldn't get it out of my damn head. And before I knew it, I was I had a OG Xbox bundled with Halo, and I just playing that game. The AI, right? The AI stood out beyond anything that I had played on PC at the time. The physics, like the first time I went over like a jump with the Warthog, I was just like, whoa! It felt like the first time I was on a roller coaster. It was the incredible feelings you had with that. First time you get dropped on the beach in the silent photographer, it was like chills, man. I know you're right, Mike. Like
the music, the just everything about.
It's just like, oh my god, it.
Halo was so new. My experience with it at first was the exact same thing: a kiosk in a Babbage's in the mall.
Yep.
And it was so new that the demo was sitting inside the drop pod on the Halo level. And I was like, what is this? And I picked it up, tried to play. I had no idea how to play the dual analog stick thing. I'm looking in the sky. I'm looking on the ground. I'm like, who the hell thought this was a good idea? And, and I never even thought, like, it instantly turned me off. And I never thought that I would buy the game until, I got an Xbox in a couple weeks. I got a DOA 3 at launch near launch with the Xbox. Didn't even think about Halo. And then a buddy of mine's like, you have to get this game called Halo. Damn. And it blew me away. And as someone who also played PC games like Unreal, Quake, Half-Life, stuff like that, there was no console game that was like that. And I think that's what just like catapulted it to the top.
And I'm guessing PC still had like a fair bit of troubleshooting issues and stuff back then too, right?
Yes and no. During the 3DFX days, it wasn't that bad because everything was running on Glide, which is 3DFX's tools and stuff. But if you weren't running 3DFX, yes. But yeah.
But yeah, so like we're talking about so basically Halo set the bar in so many ways back then, right? Everything from encounter design to AI to physics, just to the amount of things you had going on. It was like a semi-open world. It felt like back then, right? Like just with these wide open spaces you fought in. Halo 2 comes along, it changes things, right? It does change things. And to be perfectly honest, I did not like it. Halo. This is going to sound weird. Halo 2 is the most anticipated game of all time for me. Never have I looked forward to. Never have I looked forward to a game on day one the way I look forward to Halo 2. It was the most disappointing game after the initial time I beat it of any game in the history because I wanted Halo CE and they didn't give me a Halo CE, right?
That's because a lot of the previews. I think it was a Game Informer. Some magazine had like an 8 or 11 page or something spread. That's where they had like the renders and they showed like the Marines with like the stencil shadowing and everything. They talked about like if you attack these Marines over here, they can call in reinforcements from these Marines. Like,
right.
They had diagrams in the magazine explaining how the AI and how large the scope was. The game wasn't anything. None of that. None of it.
You remember the demo? The demo was my favorite E3 demo of all time. We didn't see a speck of that demo.
So when you bought the game and went into it, did you know the demo wasn't going to be in the game, or were you waiting for that demo moment to come?
I was until the game ended. I was waiting for that.
No, until we got out of New Mombasa.
I never gave up.
Then you realized. I'm guessing.
Even when the credits rolled, I was waiting.
You know what? Actually, now that I think about it, I think I was the exact same way because whenever Master Chief was heading towards space, I was like, "This is where the demo hits. This is where we're gonna get the demo." I do remember that.
No.
And then
that is so misleading.
Credits.
Holy crap!
Credits.
How did I get sued for that?
Because Halo 3, I was anticipating that as much. Maybe if not a little more than Halo 2, just because leading up to Halo 3, again, massive co-op horror. And that it was announced to have 4-player co-op. That to me, because I don't know if you guys recall, Halo 3 only had 2-player co-op until a certain point. And they openly said that they were trying to get 4-player co-op, but they couldn't guarantee anything. And then
I did not know that.
Then later on, they're like, yeah, we got 4-player co-op in. And right then and there, I was like, yeah, this just catapulted to like an 11 for me. But yeah, no, Halo 2, I remember going to a launch party with a bunch of friends. I mean, we even like when we all came home with our silver cases and stuff like that with the special editions, we were taking pictures of us holding it. Like we were younger and dumber and we didn't care just because of how excited we were.
Yeah, of course.
We had massive pizzas, drinks, like we just made an event of it where there was just a bunch of projectors, TVs, Xboxes everywhere. Yeah. And then I played it.
But through all that, so I was an old head, and back then, if I was an influencer, all I would have done was bash Halo 2. But you know what? Halo 2 ended up being for a lot of people the best Halo, right? Like when you see the if there was such a thing as influencers back then, and if I wasn't afraid to talk,
no, they were better times.
It was a different time. But that I say all that because Bungie had to do what they had to do to put that game together. It was different than CE, but they also revolutionized multiplayer gaming with the matchmaking, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's where I met a lot of friends. It was through the Halo custom games and our Halo nights, right? So it set the bar. It did its own thing a little bit. Halo 3 comes, they go in a little bit different direction. Back then I do remember a lot of games were really focusing on graphics. You remember Gears of War was just like insane at that time. Halo, I think, went back to try to recreate some of those open environments, did what was best for Halo.
Are we talking about Halo 3?
Yeah, Halo 3. Yeah. And then they brought in the Forge and again, set the bar, something new. So when I think about the future of Halo and 343, so much, and this isn't to like insult anybody or everybody's got their own opinion. There's a lot of the old Halo content creators still want Halo 3's art, game design, walking speeds, the whole thing.
A lot of them kind of want to just be kids again, or at least like college kids.
Yeah.
But here's my pushback to that, because I understand it. Again, like we've lived through it, right? We've all had our things where we get mad because it's not the thing we remember. But you know what? The first things that come to mind: God of War and Zelda, right? 2 games had a ton of nostalgia, had a formula that worked.
Yeah, but I hated Breath of the Wild. In fact, even now, I think it's an awful Zelda game. Like straight up, as a big Zelda head, that game came out, and I'm like, what the hell is this crap? Where are my dungeons?
It's totally fair. I think, and that's the thing. Like if 343 goes in its own direction, and just says, we're no longer going to be beholden to the handful of people that are going to yell at us for continue to keep spreading the game or whatever. They're going to get yelled at. Some people are not going to like it, and some people might leave it. But, I think that Halo has this unique opportunity because it does have that nostalgia. And a lot of people, as long as the game is high quality, are going to continue to kind of are going to come back to it because of that. Because people came back to God of War and Zelda, even though I have a friend that actually returned God of War in 2018 because it wasn't God of War 3. But then he came back to it after he got over it. He came back to it a couple of years later, and he's like, you know what? This was a really great game.
So that did happen with me too, by the way, for Breath of the Wild. I beat it for the first time this year, and it is a phenomenal game. It is.
Yeah.
But it is still a bad Zelda game, all right?
So like, are you talking about this Halo being still a first-person shooter, or moving into something else? Like,
no, it's still first.
I think the core thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
Is it still needs to be within the same genre? Because even though God of War isn't the same like isometric, or not isometric, but like more fixed camera, panning camera type of action game, still an action. 2018 still action. Same thing with Zelda. It's still a
huge departure.
Action.
I don't know if Halo needs a departure that big from
someone's cat killing each other.
Yeah, they're fighting. My cats.
Okay.
That was my.
As long as it's not mine.
My cats are fighting on camera, guys.
But I think
you're saying like same genre, right?
Yeah, basically the same genre, and it also depends on like if they make it like a Call of Duty. I don't think that would go over well with anyone. But if they if the direction makes sense, because like in these other examples, you can see how the direction makes sense. Whereas making it like a COD would not.
And I mean, to be fair, as someone, I will bring this up. Halo Infinite wasn't. How do I phrase this? It was a success in a lot of ways, right? When it released in 2021, it got a high Metacritic score. It had a ton of people playing it. I say Halo can't compete with the top 5, right? For a solid month, it was number 3 or 4 in that list, competing right there with GTA.
I think it can.
Roblox, blah, 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 right? Yeah, but that was with the campaign, though. You know what I mean? That was with the boost of people playing the game just for the campaign. And it's a longer campaign than previous Halo games, so it stays maybe a week or two longer than previous ones. It was voted best game at TGA. Like, one thing I think back on Infinite,
IGN.
Is
their
I feel like we shouldn't
or whatever.
We shouldn't like. I don't want to say revise history, but we shouldn't look back at Halo Infinite and think like the campaign needs a complete fresh change up and everything, because it worked. No. It did the job. It was a fun campaign. Yes, it could have been better, and yes, it was missing some staple Halo stuff like the water cooler moment, stuff like that. You know what I mean? The variety was obviously too low. And co-op, yes, 100%. Should have been delayed a year for co-op. My initial response was no, but after I played it again a year later, maybe, because it's still fun a year later. But like, it is a good game, right? So do I think it needs like a really big departure? Maybe it'll be forced to if they switch to Unreal and they got to change everything up, blah, blah, blah. But I really hope 343 doesn't look back on Infinite's campaign and be like, everyone hates it. We got to do something completely different. We got to change everything up. I hope that doesn't happen.
I really hope they don't see that, because like you said, the reviews were almost universally positive.
Yep.
A lot of people praising it. You have people like Grubb that didn't really even like the series. He gave it a good review.
Oh, he actually said it was like their Breath of the Wild moment. Remember, he's the one quoted.
And
I'll be honest. Yeah, sorry, Mike. Yeah.
No. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying really quick is I value what someone's saying about a game when they're playing it and soon after they played it than what they're saying 2 years after the game released more. You know what I mean? Like, I really don't care as much about what someone's thinking about a game when they're thinking back on it a year or 2 years ago.
I do think something like recency bias or whatever that term is plays a part because like there's still the adrenaline.
In terms of
hype,
review, I get it.
The launch hype and all that.
The point of a game is to have a good time, right? Or to at least have it impact you in an impactful way. So if while you're playing it, it's great, you're enjoying it, you're having a good time, then it kind of did what it had to. Even if you go back a year or 2 years later, like, you know what, maybe it wasn't that good. Maybe I was faking it. Maybe I was lying to myself. Like really?
You know, yeah.
I don't know.
Well, I
will push back.
Like,
I will push back a little bit on that. So just
because a great game, generally to me, and I keep in mind, I'm an old fogey. I still play Sega Saturn games. Love them. But to me, a great game generally is almost always a great game still.
Yeah.
You know, I can still play Windows CE or Windows CE. Halo CE.
Windows CE.
I can still play.
Wait, it was Windows ME, right? Not CE. Yeah. Okay.
There was CE. What wasn't CE? What was on the Dreamcast? That was like their stripped
Console
down
edition?
Windows.
I know ME is Millennium.
I don't have my
right?
Dreamcast
I actually remember that.
Um,
but okay, you know what though, Mike? It's
anyways.
if they played it again and they were talking about the complaints, then I'd agree with you. But if it's just looking back as like memories only, then I don't.
Yeah.
You know
okay.
I mean?
Yeah.
Like I can go back and play Dark Souls 1 and be like, listen, this game is great, but what the hell is that last third of the game? Right?
Well,
and if someone says that, I'd agree with them.
Well, we talked about it a little bit earlier. So I think the challenge with Halo is, you know, because it's so ingrained with the
multiplayer,
like the multiplayer and the campaign are kind of like they feed off of each other in some ways. Yeah. And then also the brand of Xbox and Halo kind of feed off of each other in some ways. And if the environment is just off, and unfortunately for Halo 5 and then Halo Infinite, it's just they really couldn't line up everything on either one of those. And, you know, I think the live service unfortunately dragged down how people remember.
Yes, I fully agree.
If they're more prepared for it, that I don't think it would have played out that way. But the way that it did play out, if that, you know.
I had a conversation recently where it's like the campaign team took the bullet for the live action team's failures. You know what I mean? And it was the right choice in terms of management. If you were forced to lay off people, which is still so stupid.
Yeah.
But whatever, right? If you're forced to do it in your management, you got to decide, what do I do? I got to keep the multiplayer team. No matter what, I got to keep this team. Even though they were the ones
that's the current focus.
The ball. Exactly. Right. I fully agree with that. And thinking back, like, even if, like, let's say, for example, The Last of Us 2 launched with Factions, and let's say Factions wasn't good, it would definitely have dragged the name of the game down with it. You know, it is a nature of the game. Yeah.
But, you know,
people look at games as a whole package.
Yeah, they do.
And, I mean, look at what happened with Crackdown 3. Sorry, Abe.
Yep.
Because I always thought that game should have launched. The multiplayer should have launched separately. They could have. I thought they actually should have done it.
They should have launched that at all. That was
the multiplayer, no, but I think they invested.
How do you launch multiplayer without being able to party up? What?
Oh, I know.
I enjoyed the deck test.
I don't even feel like they launched it. I feel like they checked the box barely. I think if you would have taken that, if you would have taken that to court, they would have said it never launched. I bet I could make the case.
They double checked to make sure it wasn't bricking Xbox.
Remember the tech test? We were all playing it, and I was having a good time. I'm like, hey, I'm good at this game. Yeah, I know it's auto aim, but I'm still good at this game. And then it launches. I'm like, I can't party up. No, thank you.
It had a lot of potential. It had a lot of potential. It's, you know, like even on that, like Infinite has.
It still has.
It's such a solid base.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Which is why, Mike, you weren't on the show before, but I mentioned it. Like, I want 343 to release a campaign and not worry about the damn multiplayer. You know what I mean? Just keep Infinite's multiplayer going, update it little season by season.
If they can do a revamp or a reboot of the multiplayer, I think that can work.
Yes, that'd be cool. Like have increase the size of Infinite's team, put it like a next gen only update, blah blah. You know, things like that. I like Fortnite does like the 5.0, whatever the hell it is.
Yeah.
You don't need.
I know.
you don't need to re-release an entire game anymore, right? You
Yeah.
can just come out with something interesting attached to it.
Yeah.
And so I think you know, like, so I was going through all that story really to kind of get to the point. You know, I can circle back. This is why we have a long show. This is why there's no such thing as a short You Had Me at Halo show, because it takes me an hour to answer a single question.
Oh my God.
But you know, like, you know, we talked about like what should they focus on, and you said, you know, like just do whatever they want. And I would agree with Mike. It still needs to be in the same genre. But again, you could say God of War is that's a very different version of, you know, 2018 versus 3. Zelda's a very different version versus a Ocarina of Time, or it's 2D things.
Yeah.
But I think that they still maintain the genre and some of the identity within that. Right. And I do think that you can do the same thing with Halo. And I think to Soul's point, and what my point was, like, and you kind of missed the conversation earlier. You know, we were talking.
Why didn't you join earlier?
Yeah,
I know. I was listening.
Okay, so you know what I was saying. That basically, you know, talking about the quality of Halo is always going to be synonymous, at least with the base. Like, I know that the base is going to change over time. 10 years from now, it may look completely different. But today, the base, the people that have stuck with you through the Xbox One, through the early parts of the series generation, they associate the health of Xbox and its first party with the quality level of Halo. And I think that, to your point, Soul, I think they just need to focus on whatever is going to inspire them to put out something that's quality. And
sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah,
but
go ahead.
I had spicy food right before I jumped on, and when I rubbed my eyes burning. So go ahead. I can still listen, but I'm gonna run and wash my eye out.
Oh my God. It's not a You Had Me a Halo show unless something goes wrong, somebody's cats fight, and something technical breaks. But
oh my God.
Oh my man. Well, maybe.
But no, you're right. You're right. Like, as long as they.
You'll run a tighter ship, Soul, I'm sure. Keep going.
I doubt it. It'll be worse. But as long as they keep Halo, as long as they keep the brand relevant. I mean, like, looking back at God of War, I know some people who don't like the 2018 version of it because it really isn't old God of War, right? And I kind of feel like current Sony wouldn't release old God of War anyway. It just doesn't fit their their aim is with their first party, really high production values, focus on narrative, you know, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So it worked for them, clearly. Right, and it worked with a whole new generation of gamers for sure. Yeah. And maybe Halo's got to do the same. I don't know.
I mean, you can go high production value. The thing is, though, what I would love for Halo to do, because I think they continue to try to, again, balance everything that the old school wanted. Yeah. It sucks that they had to make this game work on the original Xbox, and they couldn't just pivot off of it. Because the original Halo CE, it set the bar on console and really even on PC for physics and AI and even enemy encounters, right? Why can't you do that again? And we talked about God of War, we talked about
Breath of
the Zelda. We also can't forget last year was Elden Ring, right? Like Elden Ring took Dark Souls, and it did something that I think was setting the bar, that set the standard for a certain type of open world game, right? That everybody else is making map games, and they come out and say the map is your entire environment, or and they maintain all the elements that
they put an emphasis on discovery.
Yeah. While still keeping Dark Souls, right?
It is still in a way a map game, which I remember there's a big debate on that.
But it's a
on
smart
the main
map
podcast.
game.
But it's a different map game. Exactly. It's smart, and you do it
versus a
yourself.
dumb one.
Ubisoft map games are dumb. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I mean, they are. You click a button, you know where you're going, and you go there, right?
Yeah. So I mean, like, things like that, those to me like set examples of where Halo can try to set a bar again and still be Halo, right? And maybe to do that, you're going to have to be able to run faster, or be able to get in things that take you across the map faster, that break the old heads like us are like, oh, this isn't my Halo, like that whole thing.
Definitely. Like have a vision, but don't be held back by thinking like, oh, but will old fans like this? Will the core like this? Drop that. If you have a vision, pursue it. Do what you want to do.
I agree, but I think they can still thread that needle. Like, I
they
think
definitely
if they took Infinite as their base, And honestly, let's say they rebooted Infinite. I don't want them to, but let's just imagine like an alternative universe, I guess.
Yes.
Like Abe was saying earlier, bigger emphasis on physics, bigger emphasis on AI. Like the stuff I mentioned earlier that they were claiming that Halo 2 was going to have that in it. And there's ideas and stuff that we've discussed before where, instead of you just going to a what do you call it? Those drop stations or the bases. Yeah, the fobs. Thank you.
Yeah.
And then it pulses and unlocks everything around you. Instead, you hear like a radio transmission, and there's Marines that are like in trouble, and then they say in the radio transmission that we're popping a signal flare. It's like then you see that in the distance. It doesn't show up in your map, but it's all like organic. Like there's a lot of smart, deep ways that they can evolve the franchise. And that was one of my biggest disappointments with Infinite and kind of 343's Halos and actually ever since Reach.
That's what I say. I feel like it's not 343's Halos. It really started with Reach. A lot of the complaints people have about the franchise.
Because like 1, 2, and 3, and to some extent ODST, they all innovated in their own way.
Yeah.
ODSTs was less so, but I still think
the genre shift alone, not the genre shift, like the massive tonal shift between Halos 1, 2, and 3 and ODST is in its own way kind of
that had Firefight, which was already established with Horde mode and Gears, but it was still a good take on it. Yeah. But still, Halo used to be a franchise of innovation and just like going above and beyond what pretty much every other game in the genre was doing. And granted, that is becoming harder and harder. I completely understand that. But if they could have taken the open world design and innovated that in a way, which I don't begrudge or try to dismiss or take anything away from the hard efforts from 3, knowing the difficult development, knowing the way that game was mismanaged in a way.
Very few developers do what you're saying, right? It's Breath of Elden Ring. That's it.
And I don't put this on the developers. I mean, games are more expensive. They're harder to make instead of 2 to 3 years. They're like 5 to 6 years. Like I get it. It's just for a game like Halo, it should be given that level of treatment. And again, I don't blame the developers. That has a lot to do with management, mismanagement, publisher, stuff like that. But I think that's still a direction they could take.
As long as they're not committed to having like cut of the line visuals. I'm okay with visuals being good, not like the best thing I've ever seen in my life. You know what I mean? Like I really hope Microsoft doesn't keep Halo as like that showcase game in that sense. You know what I mean? Which is why I'm hoping to build up off Infinite, because Infinite can look really good.
I don't think it's been a showcase title since 4.
Yes. I don't disagree. But remember, before Infinite came out, you had like people going like, "Oh, you won't believe how good it looks," and "Oh, this is great," and the screenshots look really cool. And there's this really big focus on the visuals being like cutting edge and whatnot. And to be fair, the cutscenes do look really good. They do.
Yeah.
But like,
was this before the 2020 showing?
Yeah, before the 2020.
Okay.
Leading up. That's what made 2020 like 2020's Halo reveal was a lot like the ABK CMA thing. Like everybody knew that Halo was going to come there and was going to steal the show because that's all we heard.
I remember hearing from someone like, "You wouldn't believe how good it looks," and I realized now that was clearly a troll. But still, you know what I mean? Like you were hearing these things from people. So like, whatever happens next with Halo, it doesn't need to be like that visual masterpiece people expect from Sony's first-party titles, for example, right? Well, Sony has that expectation on them.
Well, I'll say to clear up what I think what you're saying, because I actually kind of sort of agree with this because we talked about this before. Halo at times has been a showpiece for its time visually. Halo 2 was set a standard for consoles. Halo 4 set a standard for.
I was more impressed with CE than 2. But.
I was too, but people seem to think CE or Halo 2 was. Some of the areas.
The impressive part of 2 is that it was released on the same console as CE. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I can go on and on about the graphics in 2 and
but you always
it's impressive on a technical level, but
it's impressive in screens, right? It's impressive in a little linear space, but what you give up for that is usually those wide open spaces, lots of enemy, good AI, things like that. And so, you know, like you basically got like a little bit of a corridor shooter with Halo 4, which is why when I replay all those games, Halo 4 still, it feels, that's the one that just stands out, even campaign wise. I know a lot of people love it because of the story and the visuals and the atmosphere. And if that's what you're going to go for, again, I'll go with your first point. So if 343, if that's what they want to do, is go in that direction, if that's where they're inspired and they want to set the bar and visuals and bring this to life, so be it. Me personally, I'm always going to prefer I prefer the wide open, more AI, more physics, that kind of thing.
I love Halo 4, but even when I replay it, like when you got to press those buttons like 4 times in a row, it's like, come on. I know this looks good, but come on. You know, Mike, you were talking about 343 and innovating, and I feel like they have. With one thing, they did innovate. They pushed the boundary. They made something better than anyone else at that time, which is Halo 5's multiplayer. I think that doesn't get that stated enough. They really did push multiplayer arena shooters with that multiplayer.
Yeah.
That was them with more free reign, it feels. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, do what you want to do in a sense. It sucks the campaign was a broken mess, right? And we talked about Halo Infinite's multiplayer dragging down its campaign like post-launch. Well, the same thing happened to Halo 5.
Yeah.
The other way around, right? The campaign dragged down the multiplayer and the console at the time.
Which is why you're probably right, like releasing those separately. Like I could see them sustaining, you know, maybe a relaunch of Halo Infinite's multiplayer. Keep it on the engine, right? Because it you know, if they figured out how to, I mean, between Forge and everything else, that they figured out how to keep getting content out there. Just keep sustaining this, and then you can go you could go a Battlefield type thing. You could go whatever the hell you want. You can go after those kids with the next big mode and just make it separate. It could be an Unreal. It could be whatever, and you can launch that separately. Like,
don't tie. When Sony releases their games, or I guess any publisher, they have their big cinematic single player games, right? Or narrative focus. It's not necessarily single player, narrative focus. Even say like Redfall, people will play it. They'll talk about it for a month or so, then they'll move on, right? But even when they look back at it, they'll only think about that experience they had with that campaign. That's it. And they had a great time and nothing. So, like, if they release a Halo game that's campaign only, right? There's no worries of something tying it down or things like that. I remember, I think a while back, Nick was saying, if the multiplayer is good, just release it early, right? And it's funny that the exact opposit ended up happening. He was thinking multiplayer can only do good because if it's good, people are going to be really high points to the campaign, right? And they did end up releasing it early. But I think he was saying, like, in 2020, it was ready in 2020, released it. Clearly, it was not ready in 2020, considering they launched in 2021 with their entire pipeline, right?
Yeah.
It's not something... It's something, I guess, Gears, we'll have to see what happens with the next Gears. Because, like, I feel like there are fewer games out there that expect the sheer package, Halo, Gears, and I think that's it, really, provide. You know what I mean?
Call of Duty. Halo, Gears,
Even Call of Duty, man, has released games without a campaign.
Yeah, they have recently.
Right?
But that was
Battlefield as
I
well,
don't think those. I think those are outliers, and they didn't do that well because that was only Black Ops 4.
Yeah, I don't.
From when they with Black Ops 3, I think it was, they did release it on the 360 and PS3 multiplayer only, no campaign.
Yeah,
but
occasionally.
But even with Call of Duty, though, the expectations on that campaign are very, very, very low. Right? It's like, hey, I want to look cool. I want to blow crap up. Let's do it.
Michael Bay. It's Michael Bay.
Yeah, it's Michael Bay, and not to.
There's nothing wrong with it. I enjoy it. Well,
because they make some stellar campaigns, like,
and they've been making the same campaign for how long? Like, basically, they change the setting. They get prettier graphics, but it's
even though I enjoyed it, I'm glad that they got some pushback on that with Modern Warfare 2, because it seemed like a number of the reviews I saw with that game, they did push back to like, this is the same thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't help that they released a great campaign in Modern Warfare 1, right? So the bar was set then. In a way, like how Halo, the bar has been set for all the releases. Now it's set for them in W2.
I loved Modern Warfare 1 in 2019, I think. And this one was great. It's still good, but I don't think it was as good. But yeah, I think Halo is the best when it tries to be Halo. And if you can evolve whatever that means, stop trying to be something else. Stop trying to chase something else.
Right.
Whether it's Fortnite, Call of Duty, whatever. It's not like just keep true to the IP, but think about how to evolve that. I think would be the best for the personally what I would want.
Yeah, but in terms of
in
terms of its importance, I still would just say whatever they can be inspired to make try to set the bar in some area, keep it Halo, but
agreed.
But I think it's probably worth its own video for somebody. But
yeah, right. Like what they should do.
let go of. I won't name names, but you know what? You're gonna have to like maybe shut out the old heads that yell at you on
There is a growing or already grown, I guess, younger fan base for this IP. There is. I know a lot of us. I kind of do. I know a lot of older people. I know like John. Even they don't interact with them, right?
Yeah.
But there is. You go to the events. It's just young people. Like for the most part, like there'll be some people my age, maybe a little older here and there. Some parents taking their kids. Like, hey, I played this game. Blah blah blah. But like there is a young fan base with Halo, even Halo Infinite, even Halo 5 there's people in Halo Infinite known as Halo 5 kids because they were playing Halo 5 when they came into Halo Infinite.
Oh my god.
I can't imagine being a Halo 5 kid. So
it's like it's okay to go along with your audience. Yeah, sorry.
You were saying something before that. You were trying to pivot, I think.
Well, yeah, I was pivoting to so that's the topic of Halo and its brand to Microsoft, right? The strength of it, blah blah blah. It's still the big thing. But I guess that kind of pivots us to Halo Infinite itself. And how it is right now. Where do you think it's going to go? Can it go? Like, what do you guys think? Or what do you guys think of Halo Infinite right now? Is this it? Like 20th, 25th, and 20 to 30 most played, seasons every 4 months, a player base that's there, that's not super large, but is still there and committed, you know?
Yes, unless Tatanka like just wows. Like unless there's some kind of update, some kind of addition. Because like I never want to say, I never want to say never, because you look at Fortnite, and granted they completely pivoted to an entirely different genre, and they made it free to play. Like they made some drastic changes that 343 don't have that like freedom with Halo. But still,
to be fair, they also shifted from a position of like almost no players. Right, it wasn't like it was like a game like Halo Infinite where it still had like a good, healthy player base. It was like no one's playing our damn game. Oh, this is popular. Let's do this. You know?
Yeah, they had nothing to lose.
Yeah,
by pivoting from like the whatever it was, the defense tower,
Save the World, I think.
Save the World, isn't that like defense tower? Defense
it was like you make your own fort, and it's like zombies basically. I think I don't remember exactly. I remember seeing an old trailer way back. All right, and no one expected that old trailer to become what it is today.
Yep. Insane. But still, I look at that and I think never say never. And if they do some kind of just major, huge update, and sure that might have to be an add-on game mode, But if they do something that brings a lot of attention to it, here's the key, I think, though. They need to iron out, like really polish and iron out the existing issues that still exist today before they do this big push, before they do this big update, because we're going to be in the exact same. You'd be in the exact same scenario that we were at launch, where you have this awesome launch. A lot of people are loving the game, but then the more time they spend with the game, the more problems they run into. The more time they spend with the game, the more it's clear that the team wasn't ready for a live service game.
No content's coming, blah blah blah.
They need to iron that stuff out first, and then after that, if they do something, I don't know what they can do. I don't know what the Tatanka is, or if that's even the thing that would do it. I'm guessing
honestly
not.
At this point. I think Tatanka, at least from the rumors and the leaks and blah blah blah, it people are saying it completely shifted over. It's not going to be.
It got rebooted.
It got switched to Unreal, maybe mid development, blah blah blah. This is that. So I feel like I'm not even going to expect it for Infinite anymore. I am expecting Firefight, and I am expecting Campaign AI and Forge. Those are the two things that I feel.
Campaign AI and Forge will be interesting. I've always wanted to see a single player, like a Halo version of Mario Maker. Basically. Make scenarios with AI and let people.
Doom Eternal, I think, tried something similar. Either
had a
Doom
map
Eternal
maker,
or Doom
believe,
2016. With their,
I think 2016 had like a full-on map maker. You can make the rooms, and you could do the encounters.
You can have like AI in it and stuff.
But the problem with Doom though is Doom doesn't have that. Like Halo does have a pretty nice Forge base, right? That Forge community. With all the other issues it has, I mean, the amount of Forge content you see is just insane. So I'm not saying that's going to bring it back to, it's not going to bring it to like Fortnite levels or something, but that could be a niche. That could be that could be something that builds its own community within itself. Right. And I think the thing is, when I was listening to you guys talk, is the thing that Halo will always have is that nostalgia. Is that group of people that, as much as they say, I hate you, or I'm not going to talk to you anymore, we're never ever getting back together, that whole thing, it's, as much as people say that stuff, we saw how they said it after Halo 5, and then we saw everybody came back for a moment with Infinite. And then, like you said, I mean, Mike, like we're actually looking at an update this week where they had to change the disruptor because because the net code wouldn't work right or something.
The dot wasn't working.
Yeah, so they got to fix that stuff, like you're saying, before they have hopes of anything. You got to fix the foundation, and hopefully that can still be done in that current engine.
I kind of agree, but I also kind of don't, because I look at other examples of broken games like Warzone 2, where it has the content, people play it. It kind of sucks that is the case, that people will play broken games just because it has updates coming, but.
Yeah, but I think
what I mean?
Call of Duty has a fan base that pretty much no other game, other than like maybe something like Madden, because I've never seen a player base talk about so much broken stuff and still stick around, and not only stick around, but willfully drop $60 or $70 the following year for what's likely a very similar experience.
Oh God!
So because I've seen, I don't know if you guys recall, it was just like a week ago, 2 weeks ago. I'm assuming they were a YouTuber or a content creator, but they released like a laundry list of recommendations on Twitter, and one of them like included like send out your builds to like 300 content creators.
Oh yeah, I saw that. Did you see the dev pushback on that though? That was
my God, yes.
Yeah.
And rightfully, I did see some devs be like outright mean.
Yeah,
I don't know if I agree with that.
In general, I feel like devs have kind of had enough on Twitter a bit. Even with Redfall, I saw good, honestly, good, right? But even in Redfall, I saw someone, like that post with the chimney that people were complaining, and someone's like, "This is smart. Who gives a crap? Focus on other things. Like it's okay."
Yeah,
but
I'm happy. I've always had the utmost respect and admiration for developers, and I hate the way that people just treat them. But yeah, where was I going with that? But yeah, no, like basically, I've seen plenty of complaints and stuff with Call of Duty, but for whatever reason, and I think it's just because it's
like an abusive relationship or something. Like, I swear,
but there's nothing out there like it, and I think that might be why. And you can argue the same for Halo, but obviously fewer platforms. You're going to have that. That's going to play a part. Plus, there's this stigma regarding 343 that's justified or not.
Yeah. And I mean, Call of Duty had a decade of a game more than a decade, a year to grow their audience, right? Halo's always had ups and downs.
Yeah.
It kind of is what it is.
Good talk. So I do. Yeah, good talks, guys. Good job.
But yeah, Halo Infinite, as it is right now, I feel like anyone expecting it to get like this massive surge, this massive bump, I don't think it's gonna happen. I also don't think it's gonna I don't think support's gonna stop soon.
Well, it can't. It should not. And that goes back to like what I was saying earlier. The whole thing with the thing that I was writing madly really towards 343 at the time. And like there had been rumors like, hey, maybe they're just going to do a few seasons and then move over to the next game. I don't think you can ever. Do not take that for granted. I get it. You might look at this and say it's financially doesn't make sense anymore to keep doing it, but it doesn't exist in a vacuum. And that's the thing. I hope Microsoft and I hope this whole Redfall experience kind of brings light to that as well. Is these things don't exist in a vacuum. You might say our analytics. I can't
learn that lesson real well, dude.
Well, our internal analytics tell us, it's good enough. We can throw it out there and move on to the next game. But the thing is, you got to think about what the greater perception is to your brand, and also think about your best customers and just making sure you are fulfilling. Getting as close as you can to fulfilling expectations with them. And I do think they have a guy in place that did that with MCC, right? Yep. So let's I think there's good reason to be optimistic, and hopefully that's a sign for how they'll continue to support this game.
Even money-wise, I mean, this update, this May update, I guess this is probably the biggest thing it did because I guess it affected it. Really quick, this May update, all it did was a few bug fixes, added Super Fiesta as a mode in 4v4.
Did it change the UI?
Some balance changes. They changed the UI a little bit. Now all the playlists are shown instead of just
okay, that threw me off.
They put custom game quicker rather than having to go into the community tab and checking it. You click custom game, it pops up right there, game browser, right? But one thing it did was it allows people to look at their gear when they in the customization menu and go back and purchase previous bundles from previous seasons.
Oh, really?
Basically, it's like, hey, you want to give us money? Give us money. Like what it really should have been from like any game like this, really.
Yeah.
So like when the update launched on Twitter, my feed was full of people just like buying crap. I'm like, bro,
oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, I guess. So there is still a group of people that spend money on this game. Every 4 months will be a battle pass. I know some people will say the player base isn't that high. That being said, I think a few million people buy that pass every 3-4 months, whatever it is. It's still having a little bit of income being shuffled in. It's still showing on trailers. Did you guys watch the Asus ROG or ROG thing this morning?
No.
Are you talking about the Game Pass boy?
Major Nelson?
Yeah, the Game Pass boy. Yeah,
it's the Game Pass boy. It's basically Microsoft's first portable, and that came out of nowhere.
But yeah, Microsoft was pretty like showing a lot in that Game Pass. In fact, they even mentioned they're like, yeah, it has asymmetrical Xbox sticks, and I'm like, what? Like, is it patented? Like, why'd you have to say Xbox? But either way,
are they actual Xbox sticks though?
No. I think he just meant like they were asymmetrical because Steam Deck isn't for some reason. But Halo Infinite was front and center there, and a lot of the commercials showing Game Pass and stuff like that. Like it's still there. It's still part of Xbox's brand. It's in their best interest to keep the game alive, even if it's at the current player base it is.
Which is kind of bold of Microsoft, considering that the PC version of Infinite still has a number of issues. But that's neither here nor there.
But it was a campaign, but still.
But no, I agree 100% earlier about not quitting the support because even if financially it doesn't make sense, I imagine it does. But even if it doesn't, to go back to your point, Abe, like we're finding out now with not just Halo, not just Redfall, but the Xbox brand in general, is that consumer trust or gamer, the trust that you build with gamers, so that you not only build, but like just
earn.
Earn. Thank you. It's not going to do your next Halo game any favors if you cut support for your last one early. Right. Like that all that's going to do is just hinder and hurt the trust and the confidence that people have in that IP. If you can't invest in your own IP, your consumers aren't going to do the same thing. So I really hope they keep. I mean, one of the things I brought up last night, I think, talking to friends, I'm wondering whether or not that in that podcast or whatever they had, that little sit down session they had where they announced that split screen co-op wasn't going to be in the game.
Yeah, it was, I think yeah.
But they had that roadmap for this year. And if I understood the roadmap correctly, basically they kind of alluded that it's going to take the entire year for the game to be fixed, like on a technical level. Because they had things, I think it was like 4 quarters, 4 updates or something.
Yeah.
And each one kind of like focused on a section technically. Yeah. And I think the last slide had it like in all a polished state. I'm wondering if that's still in. I hope that still is. I hope nothing there has changed.
I mean, the team's gone through so much shuffling, right? Who knows?
But that was the right plan to have. Yeah. And that plan was put in action, if I remember correctly, after what is it, Pearson?
No. This video had Staten and the new live head lead was on it.
Yeah, but that was after Pierre took over, though, right?
No, I don't think so. I think this is before. I think they might even have been referring to mostly 2022 with that roadmap, not 2023. So I think they might already be behind with it. I'll have to look it up. I'll have to double check it. But I remember it being like,
oh no, that roadmap was for 2022 or 2023. Yeah. I don't know if it was shown in 2022 though or not.
It was shown in 2022, I think, because it was before the winter update.
So
that's right. That's where they announced that season 3 was going to be delayed.
Yes,
and we're going to get the winter update. Okay, yeah.
So Mike, kind of like getting on to some more of the points you guys have been making about that, though. I hear you always say, say, hey, it's never going to be up there with the big boys, and that could be true. Especially when you start talking about the stuff the kids play today, right? But I also think it's not. It's like the whole Talladega Nights thing. If you're not in first, you're in last. It's like that obviously. At the end of the movie, he learns that's one of the stupidest things he ever said, or whatever that was. I must have been drunk when I said that. Like, it can still be so much more, and I think that's the key. We still
3 for 3. Like, the developers shouldn't be going with my mindset of like, we'll never make it big. No. That's me speaking more from like a pragmatic place.
I admire your honesty.
Let's talk about predictions, though. So do we see? So we've been talking about Halo Infinite, what it is. Do we see them? Do you guys predict that they will support this the whole generation? Do you see like a soft reboot of the franchise, the multiplayer part of the franchise, or just something completely different? Prediction time. We'll come back at the end of this generation to see one.
Unless the player base
we'll have
drops
a reunion podcast
a lot more. Right. Unless the player base drops like a lot more. Like right now, let's say it's 26 on average of most played, top 50, blah blah blah. If it like leaves the top 50, if it goes down to the 40s or something like that, and it stays there consistently, then I think they drop support, because at that point it doesn't make any sense. If it remains where it is and has those bumps, every season comes up, boom, it goes to 16, goes back down, boom, goes. You know what I mean? If it keeps where it is, I could see it being supported at least until like they're deep in active development of the next Halo, and they basically make the decision, right? They're like, are we making a new multiplayer? Are we not? If they are, they got to cut Infinite support, obviously. Right, you got to get this team who's worked on this multiplayer game for friggin' 4 years, whatever, and get all the lessons and learnings they've done and put them on the new game. You're not gonna leave them alone, right?
Maybe.
So
Mike,
depends.
Do you disagree?
I don't disagree regarding if they drop support. If it drops, if the player base drops, what do I think they're gonna do? I think. There's so much gray area there. Like, if the team wasn't gutted, this would be so much easier to predict, because you got to ask questions like, are they going to do like the initiative and collaborate with another larger studio to work on the game? Whereas if they go with that, then I can see them working on Infinite and keeping Infinite going right up until the new game launches, like butt to butt. Wait, I didn't, not like that. But right up to it. I mean, we saw something. It's not exactly the same thing, but we kind of saw that kind of overlap with MCC. They were updating MCC, not with maps, but like seasons and stuff. Weren't they updating that like right up until Infinite came out? Because I could have sworn. I
think it was even updated before or like after a little bit.
Because where was it where they started adding those stupid helmets to MCC that you guys were all
when Reach came out on PC,
picking on me about,
right? That's when they started doing the MCC seasons, which I think was 2017. When did Reach come on PC? 2017, 2018, something like that, right? When they added Halo Reach to MCC. And then since then they were doing, I think up until like 2020, it still has had like the friggin' like the Roman armor and the Gundam armor.
Yeah. That's when they really started going balls out with the like, we ran out of ideas, so we're just going to put everything in this. I could see them doing something similar with Infinite if they keep it all in house. I think it's going to be more traditional, where they update Infinite all the way up until they go like full on in the full production with the next game.
Yeah, fair enough.
Then they're like, hey, and especially I hope to God, and I have all the faith in the world, at 343 at that, even if they go that route, at that point, it's going to be in top shape. It's going to have a nice map selection. It's going to have a great tools with, Forge, and a lot of options, a lot of things there.
And I imagine it also depends if the next game is made on Unreal, right? If it is, then maybe keep the current team that's working on Subspace for as long as as long as they can, or as long as it's still making profit. Blah blah blah.
They're going to almost have to, because they're going to have to keep up with things like the anti-cheat and stuff like that. Unless they wanted to just lose it entirely.
So sticking with the prediction aspect of it, I'm going to assume this, because I'm going to assume, and you shouldn't assume anything, because I would have never assumed they would have released a 30 frames per second game that's been advertised as a 60 frames per second game. But I'm going to assume they've learned a few things along the way, and that this game is not only going to be supported through the end of the generation, but I do see them actually doing a reboot, a refresh, a relaunch of the game, a 2.0 that comes out with a lot of new maps, like not just a new season, but a significant update that's going to
bit of a graphical overhaul, lose support for Xbox One,
move on to the next generation, awesome. Unleash Forge, because you're ditching the ankle, the weight that is the Xbox One. I think that I can see them doing that at some point this generation. And I think the thing,
that's not soon. That would be a few years from now, because they'd have to be in their regular season cadence for a bit to start working on that.
Yeah, I think it'd be a couple years. I do think the things that we do underestimate. I was talking to Buddy about this online before. If you assume that the ABK thing isn't dead, and they do get,
we'll find out Monday, right?
I guess we'll kind of see. If they do end up getting what is the
Call of Duty? Warzone?
The competitive scene, the
MLG.
If they end up getting the MLG, we see like this. We see this push right now with the devices becoming more, synergized.
Yeah.
Thanks for helping.
There's a word here. There's a word that works better, but homogenized.
Well,
there it is. I think that works.
I think you're going to start to see the one thing about Halo Infinite is I think it will run well on local compute at some point this generation. As it exists, especially the arena modes and things like that. So I think that's going to be an option, and I do think we underestimate what it could happen to it at the competitive scene as well. When this game is polished and you start to bring that into a competitive environment, we might see some invigoration of the franchise there as well. So I think they should take every swing they can.
Yeah,
because they have nothing to lose, right? And there's some money they would lose if it doesn't work out and they don't pop with that stuff. But I think there'll be every opportunity to be better. It doesn't have to be Fortnite. It can be a lot better in terms of the engagement, especially in the PC, especially across other devices. And then you start to create that environment, especially if we assume that the studio pipelines and everything will be fine, which I am. I'm going to assume that the studio pipelines.
We'll find out.
Get on track.
In roughly a month, if Season 5's release date isn't 4 months away from Season 4, then rest in peace. That's all I'll say at that point. Like honestly, like that's me saying it. All right, so it's a big deal.
I think they have 4. I think we're good on 4. I think where the question marks will come in as 5, because 4 already has some stuff leaked. Yeah.
No, that's what I mean. It's what I'm saying is we know 4's date, right? It's June 20th. It's coming a week after the 3 show.
Yeah.
When we know 4's date, we'll know. When 4 releases or close to it, we'll know the release date of Season 5's planned release date. If that planned release date isn't 3 to 4 months away from Season 4's release date, it's over.
How soon do we know Season 4's release after Season 3?
Pretty soon, I think, because they had that roadmap showing it, and it had in the top like June 29th. In fact, they pushed Season 4's release up a week. I think on purpose, because the next major Halo tournament, the competitive one, is on July 1st or like June 31st. So I imagine like, hey, 2 days before this major tournament, we just updated the game completely. Have fun, guys. They realized it was a bad idea, so they pushed it up a week.
All right, a couple more predictions. UE5, yes or no?
I hope not. This is my answer.
Sadly, I would say yes. Unfortunately, I think a lot of that depends whether or not Microsoft learned their lessons with contractors.
Yep.
Because if they still want to go with that direction, which is terrible, Microsoft, then UE5 unfortunately makes sense. But man, a lot of people see Halo Unreal 5 as like the silver bullet.
Magical engine, it can fix everything.
Yeah, and it's not going to fix everything. It's more than likely going to cause other kind of problems. And this isn't like a 343 thing. This is just an
Do you know how
engine
many
thing.
UE5 games have released so far? Proper full release games. You know how many there are?
Wait, UE5?
UE5, Unreal Engine 5.
Oh, just one.
Just one. And you know who makes that one game that releases UE5?
Epic.
The makers of UE5.
Yeah.
So it's hard to say. I think they probably will, though. But I do hear you, Mike. I do think it's not the magic bullet. It does make things look prettier, probably faster because everybody uses it, and you can get contractors on it. So I predicted that it will be. You will see it in the future, whether we like it or not.
Really quick on that, because I mentioned it before. Is what was the primary reason to switch to UE5? Right, that people were saying. It was to have a game release, a live service, right? Look at Fortnite, the sheer amount of content that game releases, holy crap, right? Mm-hmm. But to have an engine so you can support a live service with content at a much faster rate. If they're able to, if they're able to reach that same content cadence with Slip Space, with Halo Infinite, then the need to switch to Unreal is a lot lesser than it used to be.
Where I think the strength of Unreal really comes in, like, yeah, there's the efficiency and stuff like that, but that efficiency comes from the, I don't want to say industry-wide, but near industry-wide familiarity. Yeah. And you're never going to get that with a proprietary engine.
For sure. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, if they've changed Slip Space enough or whatever, worked on it or whatever, found a way to get that content released, because I'm sure 343 is turnover. Every company has turnover, right? All the time. If they're, let's fast forward 2 years is what I'm saying. And in 2025, Halo Infinite is on like its 10th season or whatever the hell it is. And if that's going strong 3 to 4 months, and I feel the need to switch to Unreal is no longer there, at least not from a multiplayer perspective. Maybe campaign-wise, Slip Space screwed them up. I don't know, but
their turnover is self-inflicted because of their, their contract laws or whatnot. Yeah. So it's ideally Microsoft should just properly. Yes, you're always going to have contractors. You will always have contractors. Ubisoft has them, Rockstar, Sony, all of them have contractors. But what I think the difference is with 343's case is the amount of contractors that were relied upon.
Yep.
And so even if the engine isn't that hard to learn, because
when we had Austin Nick on before, he said mention that's
it wasn't that hard to learn. Yeah. And part of the problem, during development, that's less so now, is that the engine was still in development. Yeah. Whereas it's in a much more mature form now.
Which is kind of what I'm saying. Like, if the engine's gotten to the point where it can do the content cadence, even with like, I don't want to say skeleton crew, but even with like the clearly lesser amount of people 343 has right now. And I always randomly check if they're hiring again, and I don't think they have even now. But either way, if it's reached the point where it can do that, then the multiplayer need for Unreal isn't there anymore. Is what I'm saying. Campaign wise, maybe it makes a big difference, but
yeah, they could certainly get the engine up to a status. The thing is, do they have the engineering team or resources to do that?
Right.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If you fast forward 2 years and they've been releasing content on a regular basis, and that kind of says they did, right? However they did it, they were able to get that engine to that point.
That's more of the
That's what I mean. I mean supporting a live service is what I mean.
Yeah,
because that's the biggest strength of Unreal, right? Is being able to support a live service with these crazy quick updates, because everyone knows it. You don't need to worry about it. Clearly, however the engine works, it's able to, you know what I mean? Even though I know Fortnite throws a stupid amount of people at its updates, right? That's
another thing that a lot of people don't realize. Like, I hope for the employer's sake, the developer's sake, but it was before this generation started, I think. But there was that controversy going on about how much crunch.
Yep.
Epic had to do, developers had to do at Epic to get this content cadence up. And I wouldn't wish that on anyone. I'd much rather have 6 month seasons and people not crunch. As long as they just build that expectation ahead of time.
All right. So we got the I don't know, predictions or just talking about the stuff again. Last one.
Abe, you didn't give us yours. Is it staying or is it not? What do you think? UE5 or no UE5?
Yeah, it's gonna be UE5, I think.
What is everything?
For the next campaign and the next generation of Halo, I think they'll move to UE5. They're
That's all right. I wouldn't be
they're going to use UE5 in something. I think there's a possibility, as we discussed earlier, that they could just sustain this like a CS:GO type of thing, and say Halo Infinite is the arena Halo. Everything else, all the newer Halo, like this will be the arena Halo going forward forever, and then everything else will, could evolve through UE5 or whatever. So
I am curious. Sorry, Mike.
Real quick, what I wonder is if the rumors are true that Tatanka switched over to Unreal, I wonder if they're going to use that as a test bed, to see how much they can make it look like Halo, feel like Halo, the AI. Because that's another thing, like the AI, like that's not something you can just take AI code, which I think is excellent and
even the net
just copy and paste.
Different, right?
Right.
Even the net code would be different, like a lot of things.
Yeah.
Well, and again, we've talked about this too before, because a lot of the advancements to this engine were supposed, like a lot of people don't realize this, but AI was supposed to be a key focus of the engine upgrade, and so we probably have not seen the results of that much.
In what, Infinite?
Yeah, in Infinite.
Oh yeah, they had an entire GDC panel over it.
So, but we haven't seen the full capabilities of what that was going to provide, because we are tethered to the Jaguar CPUs on the damn Xbox.
Man,
2013
UE5, I feel like maybe they're kind of holding off seeing other games release on it first, seeing how development's going, because it doesn't feel like it's going super smooth for everybody.
I do think I do have a feeling they are the reason the rumors are coming out, I think it's just a feeling that they've been working with Epic on figuring out how they could transition things and move everything over. So for the future, but I guess we'll find out. Last prediction, campaign. Are we going to see it? Are we going to see any more campaigns this generation?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Okay. I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Explain yourself.
It would. It makes absolutely no sense to only have one Halo in a generation. And we've never had that in any other generation. And
wait, last generation,
Infinite is still part of last generation.
It is.
Oh, that's true. I forget that.
Yeah. Okay, I mean, unfortunately, it is.
That's a technicality. Yeah. Okay. You're right. You're right.
But there's just no way. There's no way. I think, given it, if they can fix up the multiplayer, put it in good standing, if they can release Tatanka and whatever, and if that hits, if they can keep and if they can keep up with a good cadence and slowly, kind of almost covertly, just build up more, like at least some trust with the brand, there's more than enough. And then you come out 3 years from now or whatnot with this awesome gameplay trailer, no like tech demo trailer, no, hey, here's some beach and a grass and some animals you're never going to see in the game. If they come out with like an actual gameplay trailer and it looks like it and it presents well, I think I see it being a big deal again. So like I can, you're on mute, so, but
yeah, that's all I was saying was I was disagreeing with you. I think we see Halo 2026 E3. That is my current prediction. I don't know how we see it. Sorry, single player Halo. Let me rephrase, because I think we'll see Halo every E3 if a season's coming up nearby, just like a season trailer or whatever. But I think we'll see single player, DLC, new game, condition. I don't flipping know. We're gonna see something single player Halo 2026. That's what, 3 years from now. Not saying it'll release in 2026. I don't know. Honestly, I have no idea about Tatanka anymore, man. If it switched development like 5 months ago, then
I'm not expecting
when it's coming out.
I think whatever it does come out as, I don't think it's good. I'm not convinced CA can also like make the Halo feel on Unreal. I feel like that might need to be a collaborative effort. You know what I mean? Yeah. Who knows?
Oh, Certain Affinity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and then the other thing too, we don't know if they're going to just pivot Certain Affinity to either support the other multiplayer or a campaign. And I think I am actually going to agree with you guys. I think we will. I don't think we're going to see like a major overhaul, like like a gigantic campaign this generation.
Like Halo 8.
I think we'll get like a Miles Morales,
7.
Almost like a big DLC type of fill-in at some point this generation from another studio that they're partnered with. I feel like Pierre Hines has kind of hinted at that. And so I just, again, things have changed so much, including the fact that they cut 100 people after he hinted at that. But I still feel like that is in their back pocket. And at some point, they're going to start moving forward again with their gaming division.
So I really want to know what his plans are.
Do you not think they're going to do like a full-fledged Halo this generation? Another Halo?
Like Halo 7, let's say.
Yeah.
Right? I had to check too.
I think they might do an ODST thing, and they might sell it as a full-fledged, but it's just going to be a...
They can't do that. They cannot. They cannot.
Yeah,
That would mean that they learn nothing.
That's true. That's true. Okay, I take it
maybe,
back. You're right, Mike.
Okay, no, but maybe today's ODST is a 12-hour campaign. You know what I mean?
But yeah, I mean, as long as you
that's
frame
fine.
it right. If you frame it as like a $50 campaign,
if they zone down the scope to be more towards like Halo, 1 through 5, where it's a wide,
why not?
Wide corridor? Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah.
Maybe that they go back to that, and I would be fine with that. And with the current technology, you can make that look mighty pretty and still have plenty of scope.
No,
yeah.
God, this is
and have a lot more AI, have more destruction. You could do some. Because you don't have.
This is related to the topic.
Jaguar car.
So I want to bring it up. We're talking about the future of Halo Infinite, right?
Yeah.
The one thing that Halo Infinite has had going per seasons, and I'm guessing will continue with season 4, is the narrative, the multiplayer narrative. It's moving little by little, and we have like some major things like the first banished AI, blah, blah, blah. Do you think that would ever hit like single player in a way? You know what I mean? Or is it just going to be these cutscenes and that's it? Nothing.
What, this narrative leading into the next campaign? Like the
in a sense, basically
story?
The multiplayer narrative, right? Because right now it's it's leading into infection. If you finish the current event that's happening, it has its trailer at the end, and it's infection, right? But is that going to lead into eventually your multiplayer Spartan on the? Because remember, if you looked at like their plans or some of the wordings they said like this is just the beginning of the journey of your multiplayer Spartan, and they heavily implied that they were going to throw him on the ring at some point or her in the ring. You think they'll ever go back to that?
No. You're talking about like Joe's hints that our multiplayer characters are going to have like a narrative role or something. I bet that's dropped.
Next generation.
Yeah, fair enough.
Or if at all.
Yeah. You know what? Someday, guys. We talked about the Halo, the things that were in the Halo 2, the magazine about Halo 2 and the AI. We remember the Fable's acorn, right? That's going to grow into a tree.
What's what? Same time as Halo 2?
Maybe the next Fable and the next Halo. Maybe the next Fable and the next Halo will finally get us what we were planning to get with Fable 1 and Halo 2.
One thing I'll say is people will play Halo campaigns. They'll say they won't. They'll be like, I'm not covering Halo ever again. And then 2 months later, be like, I have to cover it. That's how I make my money. Either way, they'll say all this stuff, right?
Yeah.
If a new Halo game drops, they're playing it. It's just, and I hope 343 understands that they have that power still with the brand, because the brand is still clearly powerful. And I know how you guys feel about it, but we're getting season 2 of the show probably next year, and that's gonna do something to it. I don't know, good or bad, but it's gonna do something.
Please be good.
It's gonna keep the brand alive. I'm
Please
really
be good.
good.
That's all
really
I want. Just please, just
be
the Fall of Reach. Just be the Fall of Reach, and
agreed.
Maybe.
Oh man, I'm gonna miss like shitting on that show.
I know. I'm disappointed. I was hurt.
God.
Whenever it was out, and I couldn't shit on it.
I mean, all the shows have gotten delayed. It sucks.
It's a fun show to shit on. I would say that. If you want to just do a podcast about a show that you just shit on week after week, at least 90% of the weeks.
But basically, even with Infinite, even with this, the brand isn't dead. Halo's not dead. It doesn't need to go on ice. It doesn't need to disappear for a while.
No,
it's alive and healthy. People will play it. By disappear for a while, I mean like 10 years is what I mean.
I don't
like just.
Oh yeah, I don't think it needs to disappear, but I do think they need to. Whatever they do plan to do with the next, either main entry
envelopes and stuff, right?
Well, push envelopes, do all the stuff that we discussed and you guys discussed before I jumped on. But don't show it until you're ready to show it.
Yes.
Like come out and blow people away with it. And honestly, like Infinite Blue, like that tech demo blew people away like that. And that was an amazing tech demo.
Wait, do you mean
2019? 2019. Yeah.
18.
Or 18.
Oh yeah, 18.
Yeah.
18.
They didn't know it was Halo until like 3/4 of the way through. Yeah. And unfortunately 343 took it down for some reason, but they even had an
hour-long thing, right, with the developers going over
with the director of that trailer, and he talked about the emotional beats they wanted people to feel during that trailer. And it's weird because you could see, because he had like pictures and like diagrams and stuff, but you can see if you watch, because I got really hooked on watching people's reactions to that trailer.
Yeah.
And
same here.
It's like they nailed what they planned to do. And that was such a good that was such an amazing way to open it up. The only thing's kind of missing, because one of the few criticisms that I remember reading or hearing or seeing is like no gameplay. It's tech demo.
Of course.
You know, and then they didn't have much to show. Yeah. Like what ended up us getting, it wasn't like a,
if they want to do marketing like that again, flip and go for it, sure, but condense 3 years down to like 6 months, please. Like that's all I'll say.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like from listening to Sir's interview last week.
Oh, you mean his apology where he said Xbox is done and they can't compete
and Halo's dead, and Xbox is dead. Xbox is dead. No, like the whole thing where he's basically talking about the in the future, kind of setting those right expectations and things. I agree with that, and I do think that I mean, I won't repeat everything you guys have just said, but I think making sure that you're showing that more honestly next time, and you can do that and still blow people away if you're getting closer to release. So.
But I'll be honest, I like the 2020 demo. Like when I first watched it, I wasn't like, "Oh, this looks awful." I'm like, "Damn, this looks fun."
I actually did not want to watch the rest of the show after that.
Really?
I was pumped. I was pumped as hell.
Yeah, right.
Really?
No joke. I threw my arms up in the air. I was like, yes! And
dude, he gets the grapple hook. I'm like, yeah, let's do this.
Because this is the closest that 343 got the classic Halo to me. And
we both threw our arms up in the air. Mine was just like, I got
different
reasons. Going to bed. Yeah.
Now, granted, you know, when I watched it, I forget, was Mixer still around back then?
Maybe,
yeah.
I'm trying to think whether or
not. No, it wasn't.
No,
it wasn't. No,
so I didn't watch it at 4K.
I didn't.
When it streamed live, it wasn't 4K, right? It was 1080p then, because Mixer's the only one that does 4K.
Yeah.
You know, like I did see issues because I remember. I remember the drawing with the grass. I remember when he brought up the map. And then he goes back to the game, the pop-in, like there's no grass and it pops in everywhere. Like I remember seeing the graphical flaws, but there were parts of me that were thinking, maybe this is an older build. Maybe this is running on, I don't know. And then, but then I watched the 4K version, and then I'm finding out more about the game, or that build, that it's only 2 weeks old, that it's the PC version. It's like, there was like the initial rush and hype. And then, but the more that the layers of the onion were being peeled away, I was like, oh, holy shit, this is not looking good. This is not looking good. And then you got things like ray tracing is going to be there, but not at launch. You got things like, you know.
Yeah, it's a weird, so much stuff. I still, though, to this day, I still maintain the gameplay looked good. And it is hard to
the gameplay was phenomenal.
Yeah, the gameplay did look good.
I want to say.
But graphics, hey, Microsoft's going to have to figure this out. Graphics do matter in AAA games.
They don't need to be like super cutting edge, but like Halo Infinite, I think is a good look.
Production values matter.
Yeah. Well, when you're spending $70, I think that's why.
Because that's what you're paying for, right? That's
exactly. Yeah. If you're charging $40, it's weird because what was Hi-Fi Rush? $30-$40, something like that.
$40, I think. Yeah.
And people were blown away saying that this should be a AAA game.
Honestly, it could be priced full. I could see it.
Graphically, it's amazing. Like, if I think you can see the budget constraint with the overall level design, because it's very much like mid 2000s, late 2000s, like Devil May Cry, very linear with this very obvious out of the way path to get like a chest or something, and then you go back on the main route. Nothing wrong with that. I mean, hell, Devil May Cry 5, the last one, was like a slightly wider version of that too. But yeah,
I know what you mean. Yeah,
it's largely the graphics.
It still needs to
because
look good. Especially if you're showcasing the
point.
gameplay, you should.
Yeah,
which is why I'm okay with gameplay showcases being closer to release. I'm okay with that.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah, for the most part. So real quick, for some reason the Halo TV show did pop up this year, so we might as well throw that into predictions. Do you guys think it's going to rate much higher, a little bit higher, the same? Lower.
I think the online.
I can't go much lower because
the online community has written the show off. So even if it's like a massive jump and it's actually a legitimately good show, it won't matter to the online community. So don't expect to see people online saying like, "Oh, this is actually good now." No,
matter to who?
To the online community, to the Twitter fan base, to the YouTube fan base, to the Reddit.
I see it. I see it mattering.
I don't. I'm on these fan bases a lot, and for the most part, they're rabid, dude.
I thought there was some good. I thought there was some good feedback. That episode 5. When they had the big action scene.
It was like 1, 5, and 9.
Yeah, I thought they had some positive.
The Spartan fight. The Spartan fight was there were 9 episodes, but the episode 8, the Spartan fight, was really well done. I thought. Yeah, where they're fighting each other.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm thinking of the final mission, but I
actually did like the final mission fight. That was probably my weakest fight in the show. But like, actually, okay,
the CG
really quick,
wasn't so jank. It'd be
exactly. Good. Yeah, really quick. I've been watching a lot of Mando the last 2 weeks, Mandalorian, right? And it's kind of similar. It's people in armor, people with the mask on, fighting. Holy crap, the action in that show is awful. Holy crap.
Really?
The choreography, the hand-to-hand combat. Oh, a lot of the action is good, like when it's really big and robust and like fighting giant monsters, it's flipping awesome. But when it's like him like hand-to-hand fighting stormtroopers or right in front of shooting, it's legitimately bad. Like to the point where I'm like, wow, this is not good. And I think back, and I think to Halo, and like one thing it does not get enough credit for, the TV show, is to have some really genuinely good television action, which is rare for the genre.
Not that last one.
Yes.
That last one was ridiculous.
Not the last one. I fully agree. Like the last episode.
House of the Dead shooting in there.
But I still maintain that the last episode had a fair bit of COVID-related issues because a lot of shows had massive COVID-related problems during those last few episodes in that year. But like, I remember reading an interview or watching an interview where they were talking about the armor they're wearing in the show, right? And they're like, listen, in lore, this armor is supposed to make you move super quick and super fast. In real life, it is insanely heavy and it's super slow and it's hard as hell to do it. And I'm watching Mando and you see it there. They're moving really slowly. It's like really kind of like practice choreography. You watch Halo and you don't see it there at all. They feel completely natural in the armor. They're moving quick. And like they obviously there's some CGI techniques for how they did this, and you can tell it. But like that's something they do not get enough credit for. I want to say, like, the show did a lot of really good things.
I think they got as much credit as they deserve for how much it's in the series. If it was more, if it took more center stage, then I can see them getting more credit.
By not getting enough credit, what I mean is like people will disagree with me online. I'll be like, "Oh, the action was good." Like, no, the action was bad. The action was bad.
Soul is you hang out in the
I know, but like not even this, say for example, Corridor Crew, right?
Like
I react worst and best CGI or worst and best stunts. What are those guys, right? They're great channel. I really like them. They did one on Halo, and I was kind of excited. I'm like, oh, maybe they'll go through all the practical effects they did in episode 5 and like the choreography they did. All they did was focus on the bad CGI the last episode. That's it.
Well,
I was kind of annoyed. I was
like,
but there's so much good in this show that you could have focused on here, right? You could have praised it for what it's praiseworthy.
But that was the most CGI infested episode, so it makes sense for them to look at that episode.
No, they don't only do CGI. They also do.
Oh, I know. I watch them all the time too. Yeah, no, I know you're. Yeah.
No, but even then, like they look at the practical effects, right? Episode 5's practical effects are really well done. Things like that. It's just kind of, it's like when a narrative's made online for something, right? You're kind of forced to follow it if you want to get the engagement you want to get, or the most engagement possible. And with Halo, the current online narrative is it's god awful, even when it's kind of just like an average sci-fi show story-wise. You know what I mean? With one awful side plot, terrible side plot character and resolution.
I think the backlash though is just because people really do cherish the source material, and that's just the end of the day.
Shat all over it.
So if you're going to shit all over it, and I get it, or they want to do their own thing or whatever, you better make it good. That's all I'm saying. If you're going to go in a different direction,
I still think everything should get a fair shot for what it does good and what it does bad. There are a lot of shows I'll watch where I'll be like, I'm not talking about you guys, by the way. I'm telling you, a lot of people you'll communicate with. You can ask people online too. They'll be like, no, the show is all awful. There's nothing good about it. There's no redeeming factors, blah, 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 blah. When it has possibly some of the best sci-fi action I've seen. And I'm talking about other sci-fi shows too. Star Trek, friggin' Expanse, blah, blah, blah.
It made us mad. That's
not as good as Firefly.
No.
Action-wise?
Yeah, not as good as Firefly. There is nothing in the sci-fi universe that's as good as Firefly, and I will die on that hill.
So back to the predictions. I think it will be. I think it will be a.
I think it'll be a better season. It'll be
a little bit better.
It almost has to be by default.
Yeah.
Plus, it seems like I don't know how reliable
the writing was fucking awful.
The writing was terrible. Really, it was the writing and the directing. The actors I thought did a great job. The special effects were hit or miss. For me, I think it depends on how much special effects there were in a given episode. It seemed like the less special effects, the more budget they were able. The more they were
practical, was better too in general.
Oh yeah, and plus, I saw on Twitter. Did you guys see it? It was 3 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, or something. Some report about they're still in the middle of production or something, or production got pushed back.
They're currently filming season 3 right now.
Wait, for what?
Season 2 filmed way back for a lot of shows. Season 2's been filmed for a while. There's a really big
season 3 got it confirmed?
Yeah, season 2 was confirmed a while back. They're currently filming season 3 right now.
What?
Yeah, I mean, now you make me doubt myself, but yeah, I'm fairly certain they're in whatever that flip the place is filming season 3. Halo the series,
I gotta look at this up now.
Season 3. I'm fairly confident. Filming. Oh my god, cat on my face. Oh my god, why we all search? Either way, I'm fairly sure they've already filmed season 2 a little while back, and they're currently filming because they filmed it's been 2 years, or it's been more than a year. It's been like 1.5 years already at this point, I believe. Or it just hit a year. Yeah, it premiered March 24th.
Okay.
All right. So hey guys, did you guys get your predictions in? And I think we're going to need to probably move to the final leg of
this has been a very short episode.
The final countdown.
We should have some music going in the background for the end. Maybe get some Boys to Men, and we can just do some like a montage. So hard to say goodbye. Get a montage of all the times Mike is just lost his shit on the show.
You know what? I might be mistaking it with Wheel of Time, which I know is filming the 3rd season, but I'm pretty sure. Oh, you know what? I think they just wrapped. You're right, actually. They just wrapped filming on season 2. It lasted 11 months, apparently. Holy crap.
Yeah, I thought there was something that indicated that.
Yeah, I was thinking of Wheel of Time. I'm following both these shows closely, and they kind of merged together. Wheel of Time's filming the 3rd season right now. This just wrapped season 2 a little while back.
So I'd be surprised if we see it until next year.
Yes, at this point, I think it'll either be late this year or like February next.
So, guys, do you guys want to do? I don't think we have community questions this week.
Nope, just a sad face.
Yeah, because
or a surprised face.
So let's do this. I guess we'll just do a final roundtable, just final thoughts on the show, and then just kind of. Then we'll do our final sign-offs for
on the show. We're still on that.
No. I mean, final thoughts for Halo.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, this would be the summary, your summary thing. So just kind of just final wrap up, kind of like your overall thoughts on Halo. We talked about its future. We talked about its importance with the brand. Some predictions, things we think. Just kind of like any nutshell you want to kind of wrap it all up with.
I mean, as someone who still plays Halo every week, usually for the weekly challenges, who still watches it regularly, I'm kind of okay with where it is. I get matches instantly. I always have things to play. I'm getting new gear, new maps to play on, blah, blah, blah. I do want some stuff like Forge maps and Big Team Battle, even things like that. And it's happening. It's all in the works, right? I'm kind of satisfied. I'm whelmed, you could say. It's still a fun game. It's still probably my most played game of the year.
Fair. Mike, how about you?
Yeah, I'm mostly happy with where it's at now. I've had some matchmaking issues. I have not played Jack of this new. I think I played one game of this new update. I still think I know it's not going to happen, but I think it'd be in their best interest if they like did a 180 and they're like, you know what, we were wrong. We're going to bring back split screen co-op. You know, something like that. I think would go a long way of like kind of giving some goodwill or earning some goodwill.
I mean, just yesterday, the developers of what's that game called again? Plague Tale said, "Hey, so there's a 60 FPS mode, right?" I don't think they ever announced it beforehand. I think it was just, "Hey, this game's only 30 and 40."
And Mike, you know what? They don't have to worry even about the frame rates. Like you guys, obviously, you got used to playing really, really low frame rates with Redfall. So now
you say that, honestly, but I actually have gotten used to it somehow.
They need to just cut off last gen. They just need to cut off last gen, rip that Band-Aid off, do it.
But they have to do it with a reason, right? So it has to be a big update or something, like, you know?
Do they? I mean, yeah, I agree. Yeah, they do. I know. That's a good point.
It's like, wait, why can't my Xbox One run this map? It looks the same as the other map.
I'm happy with where it's at. I'm happy that they're finally got their season cadence in check, it seems. They just need to fix.
We'll see soon.
They just polished off the net code, the matchmaking, stuff like that. I'm excited to see what the Taka is. I love Certain Affinity. So I have faith in whatever they're doing with it. Yeah, that's about it.
You know what I mean? I know it sounds kind of bad to say, but at the same time, like, is it? Like, I'm not super duper excited and like being, oh, I can't wait to do this. But I still played the thing. I still have a good time. I still enjoy myself. You know?
No, I enjoy myself typically when I play it. One of my biggest disappointments is
Abe complaining about desync the whole time.
Oh, I feed off of that. I love that. No, it's I always go on about how much I love co-op and just everyone was done with it by the time it came out. Yeah, and I played some co-op.
Oh, you haven't done a full gameplay through co-op?
Haven't done a full run.
Oh man,
haven't done it like. Yeah, and it's just like. I hope there's something there. Maybe add co-op matchmaking. I don't know. They're not going to.
Man, I still play split screen relatively commonly, like maybe once a week or so on this game.
I'd say I wouldn't underestimate. Again, right now I think Mike. So like my final thoughts on it is, we talked a lot about, the importance of Halo and everything to the brand. I'm going to stand by that. I think that regardless, even if ABK closes, I think that's all the more reason. That's all the more reason why you should continue to invest in Halo, because it's still going to represent your first party. Yeah. And in fact, that will give people so much more confidence in whatever you put out on your
Dude, it would be like Sega not investing in Sonic, like you just don't do that.
Right. And then ZeniMax and all that stuff. So
Sonic has screwed the pooch plenty of times.
So many times.
Yeah. So and I don't know if you guys saw with me saying in the comments earlier, Halo is now the only existing IP that has been with the Xbox brand for the length that it has, so day one, there's nothing else, we don't have PGR anymore.
We don't have a Zurich.
We don't have a Zurich, unfortunately. That could have been their Zelda
or Tail Fang or whatever that fighter was.
Dude, like people will say he's not, but no, Chief is one of the most recognizable gaming icons.
Yeah, wholeheartedly. Yeah, like people, even if they buy ABK and Call of Duty becomes a bigger franchise for them. You go to my mom and you're like, what is this on Xbox? And she's going to know it's Halo. Or if I'm playing Halo, she's going to know it's Xbox. She's not going to know anything about
Army Guy,
Mr. Army Guy. Yeah. With the skull mask.
Like, Army Guy in the desert.
My mom's still trying to set the timer on the VCR. So your mom's way more advanced than mine. Oh man. But yeah, like, so I'm going to have some, I think right now, like Microsoft has obviously been in the holding pattern because of ABK, because of the job freezes and things. But I do think some of that's going to come back. I do expect, I really do think that as painful as it's been, and again, it might be some naivety on my part, but I do think there's been a lot of lessons. Their commitment, they made a commitment without really having an understanding of what it was going to take, I think. Yeah. And I think there's been a lot of learned stuff. So they have a guy who's running Infinite now that was behind MCC and understands how you can regain the trust of a.
And if MCC can come back from that, then you know
that's true. Yeah, that is true.
And yeah, it's going to continue to be a thing that because of its how synonymous it is with Xbox base, amongst the enthusiasts, amongst the guys and girls that have been with the platform since the beginning, I think it's still going to be one of those things that brings us together for at least a minute, even if we're all going to yell about it like the next minute. And we saw that, right? We saw for a minute that it brought people together. They dropped Destiny, they dropped Call of Duty, they all came together to play Halo. So I am looking forward to that next time they're able to do that, and I do think there will be a next time.
Yeah, and I mean, if any random 343 or former 343 person comes across this podcast, thank you. Honestly, no matter how critical I've been of your game of Infinite, and I've been plenty critical, I appreciate and I love the game, which is why I criticize it. And I cannot thank everyone from the developer, from top down, outside of management, for all of the hard work, the blood, sweat. There's a large part of the community that understands and recognizes that you had one of the hardest jobs in terms of an IP. With everything that you guys had and girls had to deal with. Just thank you.
Yep. No, well said. That's one thing probably don't call out enough. 343 probably had to be one of the hardest studios to work at over the course of a few years, right? So, and we're still having fun. We're all going to still be playing Halo even after I'm off the show.
The fact that Infinite came out so well at launch in the state that it did, considering the development, is
even Schreier's hit piece wasn't enough to kill that momentum,
Yeah.
Well, hopefully it wasn't really much. It was more of a story of triumph, where it's like a lot of issues and together at the end.
Yeah.
All right. So, guys, are you ready for our final sign off?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Let's try to do this. So I just want to say, looking back, I think all of us kind of, we become friends, not just through working at Xbox Era, but we just become friends, right? Just in general. And, we, looking back, there was a pandemic and the world was in disarray politically and with everything else. And I just kind of remember being kind of trapped inside of this bubble, for me, with my parents who had health issues, I want to make sure I was going to be around, and stayed in that bubble. And, John reached out basically to me and asked, hey, I like some of the things you were saying, or how you wrote things when you were yelling at the people at Xbox at Reset Era, hey, you're good with words. Why don't you come and take center stage, take stage over here. And, it's been an awesome opportunity to be with Xbox Era over the last few years. Working with all you guys, I made friends, not just at the site, but also within the community. People that I now talk to and game with. I'm going to continue. You're going to continue to find me there. Had some really awesome opportunities in terms of learning things, because there's a lot of really talented people. Got a chance to interview Ed Fries for the book and help ship a book. So it's just been nothing but great stuff. But it's definitely been worth it. But as we know, life has changed, and sometimes you have to take risks and make sacrifices. And so I just kind of feel like I'm in that stage right now. I will be. I'm not going to be leaving the gaming community. In fact, I probably, when Soul asked me to come back on here and say, do you want to bitch about the season 2 of the Halo TV show? I will be here to throw up on camera. So that's going to happen. But it is time to kind of pass the torch. And I just want to thank everybody that has kind of stayed with us for this journey. And also, just emphasize nothing but love for everybody at Xbox Era, especially, John and Nick, who kind of brought us on, and, just thank you to everybody. Mike, anything you want to say?
Yeah. For those that don't know, just like Abe, I'm leaving Xbox Era too. And you had me at Halo, and I think it was Nick that reached out to me, I think. And I couldn't be more grateful for the opportunity. I learned a whole lot. I had my own channel for 3 years before then. didn't really get much with it. And I learned about video editing, like the amount of time that I learned in the 3 years of video editing for my own channel versus the stuff that I learned in the last however many years with Xbox era is night and day, because I always tried, but like just the things that I saw from other people in the team, just there was things that were driving me to better myself even more so than I thought, was possible. And the opportunity that the team, and same thing with what Abe, I made friends in the community and the team. I'm grateful for all the opportunities and the support. John and Nick are awesome, no matter how bad Nick's takes are sometimes. And there's a lot of awesome people on the team, talented people on the team. And shout out to Pre-Drag.
Oh yeah,
he is the Marty O'Donnell of the team. He makes everyone's work 1,000 times better. But unlike Marty, he's mostly in the background, and people don't know about that. So big shout out to Pre-Drag. Thank you for everything. Every one of my videos that I put out, your thumbnails are pretty much the only reason people clicked on.
Same for me.
And same thing with the streams. I when I did my own streams and stuff before I hurt myself, everyone that came by and watched those, thank you for the community. You guys are awesome. Like I try to say every stream, you guys are awesome. Stay awesome. I love you guys, and I'll be around too. I'm going to be in the community, probably the forums and Discords and Twitter space and all that other good jazz. But yeah, thank you guys. Thank you so much.
All right, awesome. So I guess.
I mean, it's a farewell of types, right? I'm still here. I'm still on the team, and I'm gonna still try and keep YHMAH Halo alive. But man, it really sucks when I heard you guys were leaving. Austin, who's not here right now, he's in the middle of a move. He's also leaving the team. Everyone has like so many things going on in their lives, and being able to even commit as much as you guys have is not something many could do. You know what I mean? And
just like Gabe said, when season 2 comes out for the show and you want someone, I
gotta fight to keep the show alive. I think maybe because
I believe
Nick is still here. Iron Wolf.
Yeah. And I will emphasize something. I've talked to John. One of the this thing for me, after we shipped the book, or we had the book ready to be shipped a few months ago, I was going to make that decision then. But John has really, exciting plans for the site,
so many cool ideas
for the community, and I was basically was torn because it was time for me, but it was also like all this stuff's coming up. So eventually I just basically had to make that decision. But I think there's just like that, I just would emphasize too that, as the community, keep a lookout. I think there's going to be a lot of, exciting things, better things, he's really, committed to taking things another level. So, and Nick's just committed to looking pretty on camera and saying dumb things, but that's not going to change. But
the best stuff is yet to come. As good as it's been, I think it's going to get better.
We just really quick back to the farewell again, man. It's like you get this feeling. Right, I don't like this feeling. It's like, the future looks kind of cool.
Has been made easy.
But man, I hate this feeling because, dude, the site's gonna miss you guys, and the project's gonna miss you guys. I'm gonna miss you guys. The show's gonna miss you guys. You guys brought in perspectives that are not as widely there for the entire site. Things like that. The experiences, on this show, I learned so much about people's reactions to Halo who weren't like 6 like I was. You know what I mean? And it kind of blew my mind.
See, this is why I'm leaving. Okay, this is.
You never think about this stuff though. Like, you never think about the fact that like all the stuff that happened in the past, right? People had reactions to it as fully grown adults, and they follow things the way we follow things now, and like they knew everything. When Halo 2 was coming out, or when Halo 3 was coming out, all I did was watch that trailer 1 second at a time because it kept buffering and going back. Right? I watched that thing like a million times, that reveal trailer, and that's it. I didn't have any magazines or anything. So it's so cool getting like more like information from there, and even way back to Halo CE. So I'm definitely gonna miss that, man. And I feel like that's something you can't really replace. You can't really replicate. It's just experience. It's just It is what it is. But the site's gonna miss you guys, man, and it sucks.
Well, all you gotta do is to replace me, Mike, is find a couple old men yelling at the clouds. Make sure they play video games, and it'll be fine.
And Mike, don't sell yourself short, man. Your videos, they're really good. They're really good. Like the comparison videos, they're engaging. They do a great job. They do really good stuff.
Thanks. I cannot again emphasize how much I appreciate the opportunity and the support and people like you, Aarsal. Seriously, like you are a shining beacon of the entire team of positivity. So yeah, no, thank you again.
Man. And definitely, assuming I can keep this thing alive, really quick for those listening, considering that almost all the co-hosts are leaving the team.
Soul's on that. Like he feels like this is what it feels like to be dropped in a PUBG and you got a frying pan and you're up, right? Like,
but all that being said, all of us has put a lot of work and effort into the brand, into the podcast. It's our 72nd episode, right? And we go on for hours talking about this.
Is it the 72nd? I've been saying 71 the whole time.
Yeah, and people in the chat were saying 72nd even when you were saying 71.
Oh crap! That's what happens when you cut and paste the opening.
But
it wouldn't be a You Had Me at Halo episode without at least a complete. I was like, man, that's the smoothest I got through an opening in like weeks, and I've been calling it the wrong number the whole time.
Halo. I mean, this whole show we talked about how Halo is still central to Xbox, and that's still valid here. We might, for those still watching, we might pivot to maybe something more Forge focused a bit because there's obviously a lot of potential there. And Forge era in general is slated to grow. And to be honest, when Campaign AI enters, it might blow the heck up.
That could be something special. We didn't touch on that.
There's a lot of nice plans and stuff for Forge era. Keep an eye out on that.
So the show's still alive for now. I'll know for sure, but
and it's in good hands.
Thank you, viewers. Nick said this last episode, and I've said it many times. But the fact that there are people willing to sit and watch us say dumb things and argue and have technical issues all the time, it still kind of blows my mind, and it is so humbling, in a way. It's so gratifying. It's like, thank you so much for watching, for listening. This isn't the last episode, but in case it is, thank you.
I almost ran over my cat. Sorry.
You got to prep, right? You got to make.
Oh, that's perfect. That's perfect.
Keep an eye. Both of you guys should definitely join our Discord. It's pretty nice. It's kind of maybe a little too positive in certain ways, or maybe a little too console-oriented. We're trying to hold back on it a bit. Some people are maybe a little too
we're
sugar happy. Yeah, but you guys should talk more. It's nice.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
I'll try to get in the rhythm. The conversations there just move so fast.
Yeah,
for my old ass.
It's
hard for me to keep up.
For those watching, we still have the Discord. You can come hang out there. We still have obviously our forums. This is May, so which means next month is the month. It's June. It's E3. It's all these cool things happening. We'll have prediction videos. We'll have things like that coming, and it'll be a good show. Just don't go in expecting the world, and I'm sure it'll be a good show.
I think it's going to be an amazing show. This is going to be the one time. Well, not the.
You're not tempering expectations.
I am so excited about next month's show. I think they're going to knock it out of the park. The door too. I'm ready to get fucking pumped, and I can't wait for it. I really can't wait for it.
Ooh.
Wherever you guys do, definitely, assuming the show's still live, I will have you guys on or ask you guys to be on definitely again. I really wanted to do that whole reaction to E3 stuff. Maybe we might go back to that at some point. OBM, whatever you end up doing on your own, let us know, man, because I'm always interested in that stuff. Same with you, Mike.
Yeah, I'm gonna take a small break. It sucks because I took a long ass break when I injured myself, so I don't want to. What I do, I'm toying around with up in the air, but I definitely want to do something creative. No matter what, I want to. I'm too hungry for it, especially now. With me getting back into it, so
Yeah, and I don't like. I didn't want to. I'm not saying anything about it because I don't know if that's professional. To mention stuff.
Yeah.
But I will. I am also taking a break too for some personal stuff. But eventually, we'll be back into personal content creation. So you can look out for that. Down the road. But at the same time, so like I said, probably I'll pop on this podcast at some point. You're gonna be like looking around. And it's like it looks like you got a lot of chairs. So I might just fill in once in a while.
And who knows? Maybe when season 2 comes, who knows for the show? Well, the future is uncertain, but that's also what kind of makes it exciting. You know what I mean? I guess that's the thing with change. It sucks, but it's also a little like, let's see how it goes.
Yeah.
But anyways, love everybody. Love all of you. Yeah. And
sorry for the rambling. Really quick: Patreon, forum, Discord, comments, subscribe. There we go. Hit them all.
Pay them.
Just
pay them. Give them your money. They do good work.
All right, guys.
Thank you.
Bye,
Thank
guys.
you very much for watching, guys. And this is not the last goodbye. But in case
for Aarsal.
See you guys.